Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 284. I am Peter, and joining me, unfortunately, is not Matt. Matt is taking 1 week off due to some personal business. He's fine. Don't worry about him. He'll be back next week.
Unfortunately.
Don't be mean to Matt.
Why not?
You're the one everyone's mean to. That is the format of this show. Don't try
exactly.
to spin it.
I got to take my digs where I can.
Yeah, and of course Connor is now peaking too loudly after a whole conversation about him being too quiet right before the show, so I turned him up.
Well, this is what the magic of changing levels on the fly is for.
Yeah. So
You're really quiet now, and you're just going to be really annoyed.
Shut up. Well, now you're talking quieter. You're actually talking quieter to make this...
Yes.
To sabotage the whole process. Anyway, so Matt will be back next week for the Christmas episode. More info on that in a second, actually. But
Do
Connor,
we have info on that?
Well, kind of. Don't. Why are you going to make this awkward? Just Connor's here. Jeez.
I am, and I am learning the news with the rest of you. Apparently.
Well, it's not. Why'd you have to? See, if you just shut up and let me say what's going to be said, you'd realise there's nothing to know, and it's all just kind of like, this is what might happen. If you just let it happen, but instead you have to question things for 30 seconds, and now we're sitting doing this bit, wasting everyone's time. Well, it's been called for now, because you've been annoying, alright? So, this is where we are. Yes, this is a comic book podcast, DC Comics, we talk about comics every week. Coming up on this week's show, we got Batgirls issue 1, Robin and Batman issue 2, Batman the Imposter issue 3, Wonder Woman 782, Wonder Girl issue 6, and then a couple of Patreon books. I'll be talking about American Vampire Survival of the Fittest issue 5, and Connor will be talking about Undiscovered Country issue 16. And of course it is Solicits week, so we do have March solicits to work through first, so look forward to all of that. But yes, all I was going to say was to warn everyone that because next week our recording day falls on Christmas and we're not doing it on Christmas, is that the show will very likely be at least a day late, if not 2 or 3 days late. Right? It may be a very late episode next week because it's Christmas.
There will be an episode at some point.
This is the first time, which I mean. Honestly, it's surprising how long it's just obviously what year the show started, it happened to fall on whatever day it fell on, but it's taken till our 5th Christmas? But not 6th Christmas this will be, because we have 5 years in like May or April, so this will be our 6th Christmas. So it took almost a full rotation of like Christmas falling on days to finally fall on the recording day. So
I think it helped that as well in like at least 1 or 2 of those years. Christmas was midweek, so they didn't actually release any books that week at all. Yes,
they just took the week off, yes. They're not doing that this year. They'll give us a full slate of books next week. So
probably the biggest week of the month.
So there will be an episode. It just might be very late. Now, the only thing I will say is obviously normally patrons get the show a day early. If it's so late that the following week's books are either out the next day or already out, I'll just put it straight out for everyone, just because at that point it needs to just get out the door as quickly as possible.
Christmas gift for everyone else.
Yes, but it's just because it's Christmas, and again there may be a slight change to the following week as well, because it'll fall on New Year's. I don't think that's as big of a deal, but it might mean it's a day early the following week as well. So just bear with us over the Christmas New Year's period. Some disruption to the scheduling as you may expect, but there will be episodes, and then somewhere after that we'll fit in our annual episode.
Yes, that's how annual episodes work.
Yes, it's an annual tradition that we do an annual episode. Yeah. So that's what will happen, where we pick our favorites of the year and whatever else we do. I always forget the format. I always have to go back and check the last episode to see what the format.
I always forget that I have to actually look back at what came out in the year.
It's one of those weird things. So no Matt for 1 week, but he'll be back in due course. So yes, with all that said, we do have things to get into, and don't worry, even though it's Solicits week, there's always time for everyone's favorite segment, the ComiXology Top 10.
Is it Batman?
No.
Is it X-Men?
No.
I'm stumped.
Really, you couldn't have got to Spider-Man? You couldn't have like found it in you to get to like one of the most popular characters in comic book history?
I forgot Spider-Man's weekly again now, so there's always a Spider-Man issue. I'm used to this. There's always an X-Men book. There's always a Batman book every week, no matter what. There's not always a Spider-Man book every week until very recently.
I mean, there wasn't a direct Batman book this week, really.
No, but there is Batman the Imposter. There's Robin and Batman. There's multiple Batman Urban Legends. There's multiple books with Batman in the title.
They're a bit more down the wrong, right? The rungs compared to Batman Detective or something like.
I would expect as much, but they still have Batman in the title, so they still sell.
Or Batman 89 does quite well on the ComiXology top 10. That's been consistently.
That actually fascinates me. It must be. There's clearly an audience for that book.
Well, there is an audience. It's an audience who's slightly older than us, who just love that Tim Burton movie and want to, I don't know, pleasure themselves as they look at art of Tim Burton's Batmobile.
I don't think they're necessarily older than us. I think they could be our age as well. A lot of people our age love those movies.
Okay, true. That's fair. But, you know, I was born the year it came out.
You.
I was born the year it came out, so I assume that there's probably a bigger portion of people who were already a kid when it came out who are really attached to it.
Possibly, but I think given the fact that there was still, sequels coming out well into our childhoods, that they kind of collectively grouped together.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that there's an entire generation of people before me that were already kids for Batman coming out and will remember the release of that movie.
Old people.
I'm not even saying they're old. I'm saying they're like in their 40s.
Exactly.
That's what a way to insult probably a good portion of our audience right off the bat.
Well, it's the folly of youth.
You're not even that young anymore.
Shut up.
You don't even have two good arms anymore.
Temporary.
Right, we have a replacement elbow soon.
I am pretty concerned in the fact that because I'm double jointed, my elbows like they typically they stretch, they bend further than most people's do. I hope to get that function back.
Oh, maybe not anymore. Maybe your double jointed days are over.
I'm really concerned that I'll have one double jointed arm and one arm that doesn't fully stretch, and it's going to be horrific.
Oh, it's like you had a really shitty superpower that you've now lost.
Only one arm. I still got it in the other arm and the legs and everywhere else.
Everywhere else? Where else are these double jointed?
Toes, thumbs.
Okay.
My wrists. Although, remains to be seen on the other wrist, actually. Although I think that one will be okay.
Okay. All right. I felt like a dick joke. I don't know. I felt like there was like a dick joke in there somewhere.
I nearly made one, but it just in genuine. It's the elbows and the knees are the main ones, but there's a few other places.
All right. Okay. Well, number one is Amazing Spider-Man issue 81, because we're on the ComiXology top 10, believe it or not.
And we're back to regular numbers with Spider-Man this week, apparently.
Oh yes, it was the tie-in issue last week. That's right. Number two is Excalibur issue 26. I'm just going to warn you everyone right now, this is not a good top 10 for DC. Just brace yourself.
To be fair, it's not a huge week for DC.
It's not. It didn't release a lot of big books. So number two is Excalibur. Number three is Star Wars The High Republic issue 12. Number four is X-Force issue 26. Number 5 is Eternals issue 8. I guess there's been a movie is at least propped up their Eternals
also,
book.
It's a Gillen book with Ribic on it, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, there probably was only as an Eternals book because there was a movie. Like, wasn't it? When was the last time? When was the last time there was an Eternals like ongoing book before the movie came out?
Was it the Neil Gaiman one?
I don't know. When was that?
A while ago.
Okay. Well,
like probably longer than a decade.
That's surprising. Number 6 is Amazing Spider-Man Volume 14. It's on sale. There's a big Spider-Man sale on this, so there may be some Spider-Man trades sneaking into this, but I'm assuming that's maybe one of the newest ones, and that's why that's selling particularly well versus the others. Then number 7 is Hulk issue 2. Who's on the new Hulk book?
I don't actually know because
Let me check. I'll have a quick peek.
because I'm on unlimited. I get everything 3 months behind, so I'll find out in about.
Oh, it's Donny Cates.
Oh, then I will definitely check that out when it gets unlimited.
Donny Cates with the Ryan Otley on art. At least issue 2 is anyway. But so
that's a pretty good team.
There you go. Number 8, we're back to Spider-Man sale. It's the newest Masterwork volume that's on sale, volume 22. So
that's not surprising that that's in there.
No, that's next to that. And then we have our one DC. Oh no, sorry. Oh yeah, our one DC book in the top 10. Sorry, I was looking at number 11 there, thinking it was in the top 10. I was like, no, it's not. No, the one DC book in the top 10 is actually pleasantly Batgirls issue 1. Is number 9. So that's good. Decent start for that.
Obviously, it's an issue 1, so it's expected to get a bit of a bump, but it's nice anyway.
Yeah, if decent enough people stick with it, it shouldn't fall too much. Then number 10 is Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 33. Is that still Ahmed on it? Yeah, it's okay. Cool. He's still going.
That's a pretty healthy run then.
Yeah. That's been going for a few years now. So that's your top 10. But yeah, just to sort of point out what some of the DC books have fallen. Wonder Woman is number 11, so that's kind of your biggest regular DC book of the week. Joker is a couple of spots down from that. Wonder Girl's a couple of spots down. Imposter's right after that. Imposter is a very expensive book, though, is worth mentioning. In fact, on that note, right after Imposter is Urban Legends, so also a very expensive book. So,
and Imposter, I don't think they're overly concerned with the sales in the singles, because I think it's a book destined for the trade, isn't it?
It's a big fancy hardcover they're going to put out.
That's one of those that they want to sell for the next 20 years.
Yeah, no, that's surprising. And Robin and Batman's a couple of spots under Urban Legends. That one's maybe a little surprising, just because it's the Lemire Batman book, but
yeah, Lemire and Nguyen, it's kind of a high-profile team on a Bat book, but
do you think calling it Robin and Batman just is enough psychologically for enough people who don't care about the creative team that it's not on the radar?
I think it probably is.
That's so weird to me. But
I wonder if it affects the way things search and the algorithm on ComiXology as well. Like if you search for Batman, does this show up lower down because it has Robin first, essentially, when it prioritizes its search results?
It might. Hey,
I don't know. Just spitballing.
There you go. That's the top 10. Obviously, if I go into page 2 here, I'm assuming I'm going to see a bunch of Spider-Man trades and stuff. Yeah.
Just a shout out of things that are on sale. It's on sale till early January, so you got time. But in the Vault sale that's on ComiXology right now, you can get these Savage Shores, which is Ramvi and Sumit Kumar vampire book for $1 of 79p for the full 5-issue trade. It's like the whole thing, and it's fantastic. And obviously, we've enjoyed a lot of Ramvi's DC work on here. So I'm assuming you've heard us talk about how much we like Ramvi. So if you want some non-DC work, I mean, it's $1.
Yeah. Maybe I'll grab it.
You should. Plays into the horror. You'd enjoy it.
I probably would.
You've read Dracula, right? That's one of the rare books you've read and enjoyed.
Yes, I've read Dracula. Yes.
Yeah. It plays with a lot of Dracula format style stuff.
Yeah, I'll probably grab it. I'll probably grab a few things over the I'll wait till next week because there's bound to be some more line-wide sales hitting ComiXology, so I'll probably wait and see what's on offer entirely before I start splurging on anything. But
you see what else is on sale elsewhere as well in other mediums.
Yeah. I'm expecting a lot of movie sales on iTunes, and I don't suspect there'll be any tempting game sales, but you never know. Something might be ridiculously priced and draw my attention.
That might be like the odd thing here or there that you go, oh, go on then.
So, yeah, there you go. That's the ComiXology top 10 for the week. So that leads into solicits, and at least this month they fell in a week with less books, which is nice because it's a nice complementary thing where the solicits are a nice big chunk of the show, so it's frustrating when they're along a big list of books. But
it does happen, doesn't it?
It does happen. But so it's nice that when it is maybe going to be a lighter show based on the books, that the solicits are here to prop things up a little bit, and they're always fun to go through. So March solicits, obviously some interesting talking points as we go through them, but we'll take them in the order they're presented here. Looking at the Newsarama solicits article. So Batman issue 121, not just 21. not much to say really. Just continuing Williamson's arc.
I would like to say I want points for saying Ghostmaker would be the first one from Tynan's run to return. And there he is.
I guess I see that to be the case. I mean, to be fair, I think Williamson's first issue last week kind of actually it changed the expectations for everyone about how much of that run might come back, because he referenced like everything in it.
He did, yeah.
So it's like, okay.
There's a difference between referencing where the status quo is and actually using characters in your own stories.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised, is the point. Like,
no, I'm not either.
It's like, it's fine. But the first new thing is Batman Killing Time. This is issue 1 of 6. This is a mini-series by Tom King. So we're getting a new Tom King mini-series.
Only 6 issues.
Only 6 issues. With David Marquez on art, so he's got another superstar artist to help him along.
It's all he works with at this point.
I know. Tom King just gets all the best artists. It's just he has this privilege. So it's basically being billed as like a sort of year 2 style story, featuring Riddler, Catwoman, Penguin, and Killer Croc. They're all on the cover anyway. Yeah. So I'll read the solicit for it. I might as well. It's a new thing. 3 villains, 1 dark night, and a deadly heist gone wrong. Catwoman, the Riddler, and the Penguin join forces to pull off the greatest robbery in the history of Gotham City. And their prize, a mysterious and priceless artifact in the secret possession of Bruce Wayne. But as the events unfold, what fun is a heist without a bloody double cross or 2? Well, I mean, given the characters involved, I'm not surprised there'll be some double crossing.
They're definitely all double crossing each other.
Yes. And Catwoman will likely win because she's the closest to being a hero. I mean, I know it's early days, so she'll be more of a villain in this story, but because like Tom King is going to want to foreshadow the fact that she's one day going to be an anti-hero.
And even by then, she was never evil in the same way as somebody was. But...
Never evil. Bad, but never evil. So this is interesting. I wasn't expecting him to return to a Batman book anytime in the near future.
He did make a point of saying on Twitter that his Batman run was like, I know this is my look at Batman from the psychological perspective that Tom King tends to break down characters with, especially in his minis. This is more, it's a blockbuster fun kind of, it's a heist, right? It's what it is. It's not going to be this big deep look at Batman. He's said that already. Which
honestly is actually kind of intriguing, because we've had so much of him deconstructing Batman that him just doing like a fun Batman action story might be a good time.
It's more appealing to me as well, because I'm at this point I'm a bit hit or miss with a lot of his deeper stuff. I mean, the Tom King 12-issue format. I'm hit or miss on it at this point. Doing this 6-issue blockbuster heist style story is a bit more appealing, I think, because I'm expecting something different. I'm not expecting to have that same voice as he does in those books.
Yeah. So,
and Marquez on art is always going to be nice to look at.
Oh yeah, that's never going to be a bad thing. And then another new thing, this got announced earlier this week, and it's super exciting. So this is Batman Superman World's Finest issue 1, and it's not listed as a mini as far as I can see. It looks like an ongoing. And why this is notable is the creative team. Now, don't get me wrong. No. I do not mean any insult to the artist here. Dan Mora is a fantastic get. I love Dan Mora's art, but he's not the exciting name on this just because of the circumstances.
He is for me.
No, he is exciting, but he's not exciting in the same way that the writer is because of the circumstances around the writer. The writer of this book is Mark Waid, who we are welcoming back to DC Comics with open arms. Now, he did do one of the shorts in one of the anthology books, so this is not the first time he's touched something since Didio left, but this is obviously a bigger deal. This is an ongoing book. This is him doing Batman and Superman, and I am delighted to have Mark Waid back doing a DC comic. I cannot wait for this.
I am cautiously optimistic, because while I love a lot of older Waid stuff, I don't remember the last Waid book that I really enjoyed.
As Daredevil, which is not that old, was fantastic.
I fell off it. I was, by the end, I was kind of reading it for somebody's art and not really caring about the story that much.
Well, that's fair, but
and it was the same with his Black Widow that came after with Somni, where I was like, yeah, art's great, but didn't care for the story. His Captain America was downright forgettable.
All right. But fair enough. But his Daredevil, I thought was fantastic. I thought the rating was excellent. And
you're not alone in that, to be fair. A lot of people do agree with that.
So you can sit and whinge as much as you want, but not everyone else has fallen off the Wade bandwagon quite the same way. So I am intrigued by this, and I am looking forward to checking it out. I'll read the description since it's a new book again. The Dark Knight, the Man of Steel, they are the two finest superheroes that the world has ever known, and they're together again in an epic new series from legendary talents of Mark Waid and Dan Mora. In the not-too-distant past, so it's set in the past, Superman's powers are supercharged from a devastating chemical attack by the villain Metallo, and the only ally with the ultra-powerful Man of Steel can return to is his turbulent hour is Gotham's own dark vengeance. That's a weird sense. The Batman. A nearly fatal burst of power drives Bruce Wayne to his own extreme measures to help his friend, enlisting none other than the Doom Patrol for aid. It's the world's greatest superheroes from the world's greatest comic book talent in one epic comic book, blah, blah, blah. The rest of it's just fluff. Yeah. But, so, fun premise.
It's set slightly in the past so that we can have it be Clark, right? Essentially, before pre-War World is basically what this is saying.
I think it's that. I think it's also going to be Clark with a secret identity, so it's more classic style.
Probably
Superman. Yeah.
Also, I just want to say the Zdarsky variant is one of the best variants I've ever seen. It's very good. It's the slap.
It's the slap. Yeah, I was just scrolling through them there to see the other covers. Yeah. So
also, well, I said Mora's the biggest draw for me here, which is true. God damn it, Mora, just do Once and Future. I want more of that book.
No, keep doing DC work, Mora. Thank you.
To be fair to him, Once Future, it's taking its regular schedule, 3-month breaks between arcs, but it's not missing any more than that. It's still more every issue. It's still hitting out consistently. So I guess if he keeps filling in these arcs, between things, then by all means. But it tells me that this book isn't going to be. It's not Mora as the ongoing artist. He'll be there for the first arc at most.
Yeah, I do want to point out there's an Art Germ variant, which is Supergirl and Stephanie Brown Batgirl in her Batgirl outfit from pre-New 52. So it's like a throwback to that 2009 era Supergirl Batgirl team up.
Okay, it's very nice. I did have to scroll through quite a lot of covers to get
there's a lot of covers for this one, but it's very nice, and it gave me some good nostalgia feels. So, yes, so good stuff. So that's exciting. And then obviously we have the return of White Knight stuff with Batman Beyond the White Knight, which is interesting, a Batman Beyond character into the book. It's going to be 8 issues, Black Label. You know the drill at this point.
It's set 10 years after the last one.
So you know what to expect from this, more or less, at this point.
I should hope so.
And then Detective Comics 1055, 1056, 1057, 1058. Then that does wrap up the 10-part 12-part series. Sorry, yes, the 12-part story by Tamaki, which
I'm looking forward to starting. We've solicited the whole thing before. This whole 12-part story is solicited before we've started it, which is unusual, but looking forward to starting it, and I'm looking forward to next month's solicits to see what we're actually getting after.
Yeah, me too. But
kind of are we getting a new writer? Is this Tamaki kind of doing a final say on Detective, or is it just the start of something else?
I have to say, I like that cover on the final issue, which is it's basically Batman in silhouette, but he's covering lights of the buildings behind him with his cape.
On the red sky. Yeah.
It's just a nice simple cover. I like it.
It's very animated series-esque. Even though stylistically it's not, but just in terms of the colors and the way it's lit.
Next up, we got Batman Phase Clan issue 1.
Do you know what Phase Clan is?
I have no idea. It looks like garbage, though.
It's Phase Clan is a gaming team.
I hate this.
Esports.
It's terrible. Yeah. Terrible.
I understood the Fortnite crossover because it was Fortnite is still probably the biggest game on the planet, right? You're selling a lot of things by doing that. Phase Clan's been going a long time. I'm talking 13, 14 years. Old Call of Duty games, basically, is kind of where they kind of really started and became a thing. So I'm not sure what the audience for this is, because I don't think they're quite... I'm not sure there's quite the same thing to them anymore.
I mean, maybe they're just hoping that even a dozen people who care about this phase group will start reading comics because there's a comic with them in it, and they'll stick around for a few more books. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's weird.
Weird that this doesn't say it's a mini or anything. Because there's no way this is an ongoing.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. Next up, Shadow War Alpha issue 1. We knew this was coming. This is the kickoff one shot for the little mini event that Williamson's doing between his few books.
Just something I will say that I kind of forgot to mention last week. Mainly I forgot to mention because I keep forgetting Batman's not double shipping anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad to see that Batman's doing a crossover after like 3 issues. I would have liked a bit more breathing room. I know they're all Williamson books. I know I'm reading all of them anyway, but I would have liked a little bit more breathing room of its, to be itself before it jumps into crossovers.
Yeah.
In my head, I was getting like 6 or 7 issues before this, but we're not because it's not double shipping.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. I'm just not.
It's just something that I know, especially me, I complain about a lot when it's books that I'm not that interested in, I'm not reading. So I thought it's only fair I do bring it up when it is a book that, just because I'm reading all of them, doesn't make it okay. It's still annoying.
Yeah. So that's that. We got Naomi season 2 issue 1. Again, we knew this was coming already. So, there it is.
Yeah. Was the first season co-written by Walker as well?
I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say it was. That sounds familiar. Yeah. So that's neat. And then we got Trial of the Amazons issue 1. It says 1 of 2, which is interesting. I would speculate that this is going to be like a bookend, kind of like how the Alpha and Omega issues are, but they're not calling it that. So I don't know. I don't know if that is the case. Maybe this is just a 2-parter that sort of kicks off a bunch of stories in the individual comics.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit concerned about the event that we're going to feel a bit lost because it starts by saying after the events of Nubia and the Amazons, which I don't think any of us are reading.
We'll just have to see how it feels.
Yeah.
And whether or not even this extra book is worth picking up for if you're just reading Wonder Woman, if you care about keeping up with all the extra details. Because it's worth mentioning that the creative team here it's got all of the different writers from all the Wonder Woman related books that are working on it.
It does feel like it's pretty cohesive from an editorial standpoint.
But it does make me wonder if it's all going to be like it's split up little stories all tied into the various books, or is it actually they've all consulted on one story that's going to be continuous in this issue?
No, it's continuous issue to issue. Like if you go to the next book, which is Nubia and the Amazon 6. That is part 2 of the story.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then Wonder Woman 785, as we go on, is part 3. So you kind of have to read all of them.
Well, it's going to have to intrigue me quite a bit to make me want to do all that.
No, I'm concerned in that because we're reading Wonder Woman and Wonder Girl. Wonder Girl's been kind of on the edge as it is. I'm like, man, this is a big commitment to read a lot of books. It almost feels like, do I want to read it, or is it more of a jumping off point than a jumping in point?
Yeah, is it just to drop it for 2 or 3 months while Wonder Woman's tied up in it, and then possibly come back afterwards? It could be the case, which would be a shame because I just came back to Wonder Woman after the first big arc that I wasn't into.
We'll get to it more later, but I am enjoying Wonder Woman right now.
Speaking of, though, Nubia and the Amazons issue 6 also solicited for March, so that's wrapping up that. Then we have Wonder Woman issue 785.
Oh, wow. Sorry, I didn't realize Nubia and the Amazons was a mini. That's particularly bizarre in that the final issue of your miniseries is part 2 of your crossover.
Yeah, I mean, if it's all been building to it, I guess it doesn't really matter. Because if you've been buying it, then you're going to be invested in the crossover. Guess,
but it's so weird that, like, for when you're selling that as a trade later down the line.
I suspect it's going to be a bigger collection rather than just 1-6. So this,
it's going to have to be now, yeah.
Wonder Woman 785, part 3 of the crossover. And And then Trial of the Amazons, Wonder Girl issue 1. So notably, this is a one shot. This isn't actually part of the main series of Wonder Girl. This is a separate thing.
2-issue mini again.
Yeah. Did I say one shot? Okay, 2-issue mini. But the same difference being is that it's not actually the same ongoing book. That's not been interrupted necessarily.
Although it's also not solicited anywhere else. So.
Oh well, okay, maybe it's
replaced.
Maybe it's replaced, but
yeah,
that's arguably still a little bit better because at least the ongoing story in the regular book isn't interrupted. It's taking a break. You have to take time off, but it's not interrupted in the sense that when the trade's put together later, you have to worry about issues, 7 and 8 tying into things that don't make any sense unless you're reading the whole thing. So, but yes, but it is Joelle Jones writing and doing the art on this. So,
yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, more on all this stuff later. We also got Sensational Wonder Woman Special issue 1, although I believe this is just one of these big one-shot specials. Although notably, this only has 3 stories in it versus the usual 8 to 10, so they are more meaty stories than normal. So that's
which
something.
Might make it more appealing, I guess, in the sense that you, rather than here's a handful of fluffy little 8-page things, here are 3 roughly 30-page stories. I'm assuming there's probably still some, pin-up parts kind of thrown in like they usually do in these.
Yeah, probably. They're doing this for International Women's Day, which is cool. I suspect the likelihood of me reading this is very low, partly because none of the the writers here don't really wow me in particular. And it's a 100-page book more or less, and it's one of these things where I just don't find myself wanting to jump into this. But we'll see. Then we have War for Earth 3 issue 1, which was vaguely interesting until I realized it was mainly the tying into the Suicide Squad book from the same team who are writing that. And then it got less interesting.
Over a couple of other books as well.
So it got much less interesting once I realized that. Because at first I was like, oh, an Earth 3 crossover storyline. Oh, this sounds cool. War for Earth 3. Yeah, I could be into this. And then I realized that with the team I realized that it mostly was crossing over with books that are connected to, stuff that I'm not reading anyway. I was like, okay, I guess this is just outside my radar then, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's Robbie Thompson and Dennis Hopeless writing, and I think they're taking over a couple of other books as well. They're taking over The Flash for the issue and Teen Titans Academy. So for this month, those books are just part of this story with these writers.
Okay. Did you read ahead?
I looked at these before.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, well, we'll get there when we get there. Stop spoiling things from later.
I'm just talking about it all as the whole thing while we're on this story.
No, you're cheating. You're bringing up things from later. It's not allowed.
All right, continue.
Issue 2 of this is also solicited.
Yeah, 2 of 2.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
All in the 1 month, I assume. Unless issue 2 is solicited advanced.
Yeah, Suicide Squad issue 13, and the Flash 780, as you mentioned, and Titans Academy issue 13. Which, that was Suicide Squad and Titans Academy were already kind of tied into this anyway. The Flash is the one that feels kind of roped in that was separate from before.
Titans Academy is a different writer, though, isn't it? This isn't the usual team.
No, it's not, but a lot of the characters and stuff involved in the solicit for War for Earth 3 are
fair enough.
From that. So it was like, I felt like it was tied into that stuff as well. The Flash, though, that's the one that kind of feels like the book's just been kind of taken away from whatever it was doing. Which for me probably means I'll just skip that one to the Flash.
I would assume so. I wonder if it'll be back to the same team afterwards, or if are they doing a filler month to delay announcing a new team after?
We'll find out in April solicits, I guess, aren't we? So that's that. Then we have a new Black Label book. This is interesting. So we got Rogues issue 1. This is Joshua Williamson writing, because he hasn't written enough books right now. With Leo Max on art. This is a 4-issue book, so it's your 48-page, four issues. 10 years ago, the Rogues disbanded and went their separate ways, but time hasn't been kind to the former blue-collar supercriminals. Caught in an endless cycle of prison, rehab, dead-end jobs, broken relationships, probation, and endless restitution fees, the Rogues are sick of paying for their crimes. Luckily, Captain Cold has a plan. One last job that will leave them all richer than their wildest dreams and free from their past, if they can survive. This is The Rogues, as you've never seen them before, reimagined by the incredible mastermind storytellers of Leo Max and Joshua Wilson. So, this is actually kind of cool. I love the idea of a Rogues Black Label book.
Yeah, no,
honestly, I'm pretty sure I can hear Matt getting an erection from here.
I tweeted at him as soon as I saw this, being like, "How many goats did you sacrifice to will this into reality?" I know Williamson was tweeting saying he kind of had this idea for a long time during his Flash run and couldn't find a way to make it fit into his run. So now he's just doing it as a Black Label story, which, sure, why not?
Yeah, I kind of like the cover as well, which is it's just an older, disgruntled Captain Cold.
Yeah, it's great.
This is a wonderful idea, focused on a really fun, interesting group of characters. So this gets thumbs up. At least on the, I mean, hopefully it's great. Hopefully it lives up to the potential. But at least on premise, that sounds great. So
Williamson, obviously, we haven't loved everything he's done, but he has a lot of potential, and I still, for the most part, pretty positive on him. Leo Max, we've all enjoyed the art from Basket Full of Heads. Which is, I'm assuming, the only place we've seen them, but still, it's a good sign.
Yeah, Catwoman Lonely City issue 3 is coming out. That's like skipping every other month, which is why it's only on issue 3 in March, unfortunately. But so nice to see it still going though. That's 3 of 4, so there's still one left to be solicited.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazons issue 2. Obviously, that's skipping even more months because that's a 72-page book each issue.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to me that each issue is a different artist entirely, because it's Gene Ha on this issue, who did not do the first one, and that was Jimenez, if I remember him right.
I assume it's going through different eras, so maybe it fits narratively with
I would assume so, yeah.
What it's doing. So that's cool. It's a very nice cover though, I'll say that. Yeah. Really nicely detailed cover. And then there's a few hardcovers and collections that they're spotlighting before we get to the rest of the single issues. DC Pride from last year is getting a hardcover. So that's cool. Or from this year. It'll be last year when it comes out, is what I mean. You know what I mean?
The 2021 Pride.
Yes. Dark Knight's Death Metal softcover, Fear State Saga, which notably is the Batman arc, but also all the Secret Fails one-shots and the Alpha and Omega issues, so that makes a lot of sense.
I will say, bold of them to claim it's the definitive Fear State collection when it doesn't have any of the other tie-ins.
Yeah, you can sort of tell there's going to be an omnibus someday that has like the 3 issues of Nightwing, the urban legends, relevant stories, whatever else. Like you can tell.
Harley Quinn was there. What else?
Catwoman had 3 issues. Yeah. I mean,
that will be the definitive one.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I could see them doing like a companion thing to go along with this. That's like all those together. This is a sort of book 2. That said, though, I think Catwoman and Nightwing will still fit nicely into their own trades for completion's sake.
I agree. Yeah.
So especially Catwoman, because Catwoman's actually kind of does wrap up a lot of narrative points to that.
I think it's necessary as well.
Nightwing, I'd say you could almost skip them, except there's some character beats with Babs and Dick that you kind of need, given where they are afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's probably less essential, but worthwhile.
Yeah. Sandman is getting a new set of soft covers that are all super big. They're all 500 plus pages, so there's 4 books.
It's basically the deluxe hardcovers, just in paperbacks.
Yeah. Next is in the Lake Volume 1, which they've also solicited issue 7 along with that, which is neat.
Yeah,
so
they come out on the same day.
Well, so that's cool. Very nice cover for that one. Sort of looking up at the group through the ripples of water. So it's kind of a sort of distorted watery effect. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Suicide Squad Get Joker, which I'm sad that I never actually made a point of reading issue like 2 or 3 of that, because while it wasn't necessarily great, I did get a lot of laughs out of that first issue.
Well, you can always go back to it.
I can always go back and read the collection, yes, but I just I kind of forgot it existed after a bit, and then I've been reminded and goes, oh yeah, this was the one that had all the on the nose political talk and the weird stuff. Batman Black and White box set, DC League of Super Pets, the Great Mixie Up. That's also a nice title. I kind of like that title actually.
That's good. Yeah.
So that's a graphic novel, as is Galaxy: The Prettiest Star.
Yeah, it's one of the young adult ones, isn't it?
Yeah. So then we're on to the rest of the single issues, though. Oh, what a cover for Action Comics 1041. It's
That's so good.
Yeah, it's basically the Superman logo made out of like broken chains. Which, and this is the thing, like I don't necessarily know if that means he's broken out of them and that's what it represents because they're broken, or if it's just like no. The S logo is chained. They're chains now. Like it could mean either.
Yeah. Oh man.
I could probably find out if I read the solicit. By the way, it's quite lengthy at this point.
All I know is it says it's conclusion to part 1 of the Warworld saga.
Only part 1 though, so you may not have broken out yet.
Yeah.
But you could have broken out and that could start phase 2. I don't know. Aquaman Green Arrow Deep Target issue 6. So that's not wrapping up. That's 7 issues. I just assumed it was 6. There's 7 issues, that many. Aquaman issue 2 is coming out. We got Arkham City, The Order of the World, issue 6. And as with all those issues, very nice cover on this.
Yeah.
Another good cover featuring chains. We got multiple good chain heavy covers.
Also calling back to the jaw of what else, what happened in the earlier issues of that book.
Yes.
No spoilers in case anyone's not been reading it, but it's a very good callback.
I also like the touch that she's holding the jaw whilst like clenching her own jaw.
Yeah. Please don't do it to me.
Yes. Batgirls issue 4. So that's still going. Batman the Night issue 3. This is the Zarsky Batman book. I'm going to be honest.
This is the book I keep forgetting exists because we haven't had the first issue yet.
I had to scroll down and see who was writing it to remind myself what this was because I'm like, The Night? What's this book?
Every time I get to it, I go, we're getting a Zarsky Batman book? Oh yeah, we just haven't read the first issue yet.
We got Batman Urban Legends issue 13. With stories by Vita Alea, Mark Russell, Ram V, and Mahali Mashigo. So cool. Blue and Gold issue 7. We have Catwoman issue 41. So again, we've not gotten to this first Teeny Howard issue yet, but I
did see the preview last week of the art. Looks very nice. It was an uncolored art preview. It was all like grayscale stuff, and it looked gorgeous. And I kind of wish they just published it like that. But
can I just say
those colors will look good as well.
There's 4 covers for this Catwoman issue, and none of them are less than great.
Yeah, they're all kind of great, aren't they?
They're all. I mean, obviously, I have preferences as to which one I like more, but none of them are bad.
None of them are bad.
Yeah, that's very notable. So, you know what, artists? Let's be honest here. Artists are a little perverted, and that's why characters like Catwoman and Poison Ivy always get good covers.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of dirty old feckers who like to draw.
And it's not even like it's just the men drawing these. At least half of these women artists drawing these variants.
Well, they can be perverts too. It's fine.
No, I'm just saying. Like, I'm just clarify that this is equality in the perverts.
Yes. Dark Knights of Steel issue 5. Up next,
which is more great covers.
Oh my
Dan Mora for the regular cover.
Is that a Stephanie Brown Archer on that variant? Which, by the way, the cover is phenomenal.
I think it might be Stephanie Brown. I'm judging by the color.
It's just it's the purple cloak, but it's an Archer with a purple cloak. But I mean, if you told me it's like an Artemis or something, like,
yeah. But I mean, it's Middleton. It's a gorgeous cover.
I'm just scanning the solicit. It doesn't mention her. Doesn't mention anyone though. It's not like there's someone else that
yeah, like we can see Dinah in the background of that as well. I would be inclined to maybe say it's a daughter of those two.
Yeah,
perhaps.
that would make some sense. Given that it's the other Archer, well, not the Archer. I mean, Black Canary is not an Archer, but she's connected to Green Arrow. But given it's that family
it's
in the background,
those two in the background, and then her on the front, would be my guess. But
yeah,
I mean, we'll see.
That's probably my favorite cover out of the bunch, though. Even though there's some other good covers.
All of them are great, though, aren't they?
Yes, they're all good covers. DC Horror Presents Soul Plumber issue 6, so that is wrapping up in March. Speaking of horror books, though, DC versus Vampires issue 6. Babs is on the cover for this one.
Yeah.
Looking very, very sinister. Oh, that Nightwing Matina cover for its.
I do like that. I actually prefer the regular one, just with the vampire in the shadow behind.
Oh, sure.
Just the fangs. I think it looks great.
Deathstroke Inc. issue 7 is coming out. We got Future State Gotham issue 11 is still trucking along. Although that's changed teams, right? Because Dennis Culver's writing that now. That used to be Williamson, did it not?
I don't know if it was
Or
Williamson.
Rosenberg. Maybe it was Rosenberg.
Marvin.
It wasn't Culver. It was definitely someone else.
You could be right.
It was definitely not Culver when it started. And this might not even be the first issue it changed. I'm just noticing it now, pointing it out that it's someone else.
Yeah, I want to check now.
Just check who issue 1 was.
I'm just going to check. There was an issue this week.
Oh, there you go.
Well, Culver was writing this week.
All right, so it switched a while ago.
Yeah. It was Williamson last issue, though.
Okay, so I was right. It was Williamson. Okay. Right. I just need to make sure I'm not going crazy. Green Lantern issue 12 is out. We got Hardware Season 1 issue 6, so that's wrapping up. Harley Quinn issue 13. We got I Am Batman issue 7. We have Justice League 74, which is notable because it is actually the conclusion to Bendis' run on Justice League, which means that and it's a double size issue as well.
I think it's still the same size as normal. It's just there's no backup.
Oh, right, okay. Well, the main story then gets the full page count. So what is... Honestly, I think Justice League as a book could probably just take a break. It doesn't need to have like a new creative team right away. I'm kind of like... I've kind of always been in the opinion that Justice League could just, like, the event book should be Justice League, and, like, you know, it doesn't need to be an ongoing, because I do feel like it often suffers from, like, always having something that you need the team of the Justice League for, kind of just makes them feel like the big things are meaningless.
It's why I find, like, my favorite Justice League book of all time is the JLI stuff, like, you know, can't believe it's not the Justice League from the 80s and early 90s, in that it's essentially a comedy book. It's low-key. It's...
Well, yeah, that's the point, though.
Book.
It's called Justice League, but it's not Justice League. It's a team of B-listers and, like, misfits. When I say Justice League, I'm talking about the big 7. I'm talking about the main
I get that, but
cast.
by putting that as your Justice League book, and it's the only one they were publishing...
Yeah.
It puts that as, okay, here's your expectations, and then you can have your event on top of that.
Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, that's Justice League in name only. It's not, you know, the Justice League book.
It's not, but they're going to publish a Justice League book every month, so they might as well do that one.
I mean, they probably won't take a break. I think it could take a few months off just to refresh, but
it could. But issue 75, they're not going to miss that.
Oh yeah, well, it does mean that the new writer will get a special. Like, they'll get like a triple-sized issue to kick things off in, probably.
Yeah,
because it's issue 75. So we'll see if they've got a new creative team for that next month. If they don't do it immediately the following month, maybe if there's an anniversary coming up or something, maybe they'll hold it a little bit to, like, hit an anniversary or something.
They might just do like a big one-shot for the 75, like a fill-in.
Yeah. Or maybe it'll be a big one-shot, but the final story will be the new writer to tease their going forward plot. Yeah, they've done that a few times. Justice League Incarnate issue 5. That's still going, so that's cool. Notably, that's Williamson and Dennis Culver co-writing, and Culver's who took over Future State. So that's just interesting. So they do have a working relationship then, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes issue 3 by Bendis, the one that Matt is begrudgingly going to read. So look forward to him working
moaning about every issue of that.
Yeah, Looney Tunes issue 265, Mad Magazine issue 25, Monkey Prince issue 2. That's a Gene Luen Yang book. A nice little touch in the solicit for that. They've actually got the Chinese lettering next, like, for their names next to the creator names as well. Yeah. It's a nice touch. Nightwing issue 90, which is going to feature Wally West in a 2-parter. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a nice cover too.
It's interesting that we're going from a 2-part crossover with Superman. So we've got, like, essentially, here's a John story with Dick, and then here's a Dick and Wally story, kind of back to back.
Yeah, maybe that'll thematically actually make a lot of sense why there's, like, 2 things like that back to back. The cover is, you know, Nightwing's running, but then there's like a Flash logo with the Flash in it, sort of like running alongside him. It's a really nice cover.
And I assume as well, having the 1 issue of the Superman crossover plus these 2 issues gives 3 issues for Redondo to have a little bit of a break.
Oh yeah. The variant's very nice as well. That's the Jamal Campbell one. That's always, like, really played into the neon of the city and the rain and stuff like that. Whereas, of course, the the Redondo covers, the more clean colors that he tends to work with. So really nice set of covers. 1-Star Squadron issue 4 is coming out. Refrigerator Full of Heads issue 5. So that's nearing its conclusion. Robin issue 12. With a pretty neat cover.
Yeah,
I would say. So that's cool. And notably, that second cover does make it look like he's teaming up with a bunch of these characters that he's been with on that island, doesn't it? Which would be kind of predicting.
it does look like that. Admittedly, it's just a variant, so you can't take it for sure. It could be just them spotlighting all the characters at the end of this story, but I wouldn't be surprised.
We get Robin's issue 5, which admittedly I'm a little disappointed with, given.
And I don't understand what that cover is. Why is Damien a monk?
I don't know, they're all alternate versions. Jason's like that's Dick's a race car driver. No, it's Jason.
No, it's Jason.
Yeah.
Dick's, I think, doing the Grayson super spy thing by the look of it.
And Steph is basically the exact same, but with a bat logo.
She has a bat logo on both. I don't even know. She's just got a different mask on.
Oh, you're right. There is a bat logo in that one. I just didn't even realize that was a bat logo.
Yeah. They got lazy with Steph.
That's kind of weird. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it wasn't in love with issue 1, despite the fact that I loved the premise of the putting all the Robins together.
I don't think any of us read issue 2.
Did issue 2 already come out? Okay, well,
it was this week.
Well, I didn't read issue 2 then. There you go.
Yeah. And it's also a weird thing because issue 3 also came out this week on DC Universe Infinite. Like, you know, they're a month ahead on there.
Yeah. Superman Son of Kal-El issue 9 is next, and this is the other part of the Nightwing and Superman crossover.
Oh, I think about Redondo is doing doing this crossover. So he's obviously doing the Nightwing issue and then the Superman issue. So he's only really got a month off.
Yeah. So that's cool. Obviously, we're looking forward to that. But I mean, we're reading both Tom Taylor books anyway, so you know, whatever. Task Force Z issue 6 is coming out, and then we got Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries issue 12, The Human Target issue 6, continuing Tom King's big book, The Joker issue 13, with something's happening with Lady Bane hitchhiking in Texas. Then we got The Swamp Thing issue 11. Neat cover.
Yeah, nice to have it back. I mean, obviously it's not been that long for us right now, but knowing we've got 3 months till the next issue, it will be nice to have it back.
Yeah, obviously it'll be coming after a break. Titans United issue 7, Wonder Woman Evolution issue 5, World of Krypton issue 4, Batman v Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham. Oh, that's
collections.
We're out collections for various
I don't know
things.
if there's much of particular interest. I usually have a scan, and the Phantom Stranger Omnibus is probably the most interesting one.
They're reprinting Death and Return of Superman Omnibus.
Aren't they always?
This is the 3rd time they've printed it, I think, but I could be wrong. So
In a Tynan's Talon as a wonderful big paperback trade.
there's a Phantom Stranger Omnibus, which is
Just said that.
got a cool cover. I wasn't listening to you.
This is what I mean. Why am I here? This is literally the first thing I just said that was of interest.
I think that's the first thing you said of interest 54 minutes into the show. Then
That was of interest in the collections.
you should really think about upping your game a little bit.
This is why I haven't interrupt you, because if I just say something, you don't listen.
Oh, and the reprint Jeff Johns Teen Titans Omnibus as well. So if you were looking for that, if you're wanting the big tomb of the book that is Jeff Johns Teen Titans Omnibus, which is almost 1,500 pages, and you could kill a man with it, then
Got a horse with that.
yes, you can go fetch that. All right, there you go. That is the solicits for March. Mostly by the numbers, but there's a few interesting new things. Like that Rogue's Black Label book is super interesting. Wade being on a new book at DC, an ongoing book no less, is super exciting. So cool.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things that is another news article, but is something that's missing in those solicits. I don't know if you've noticed it, or if you've even seen this news article. There was no Doc Shaner Shazam Mary Marvel book.
Oh,
it's been delayed 6 months.
it's unfortunate, but
basically, Shayna, he tweeted he only found out about this on Tuesday. So these solicits come out Friday. He only found out a few days before that it was delayed. I don't know why they made this decision after announcing the first issue. Shayna basically said he's not behind on it or anything like that. He's still working on it as if it was coming out as normal. So it'll be ready well in advance when they do start putting it out. Apparently they just want it closer to the movie, the next Shazam movie. I don't know if that will line up for the issues or if it'll be more for when the trade comes out.
I see. This just sounds like slightly shoddy management in the sense that they solicited issue 1 and went, oh wait, we've got an idea. Let's just delay it now. Like rather than thinking ahead, it just feels like a bit of a dodgy management. Moment.
Perfectly solid idea to have it around the time of your Shazam movie, right? That makes sense.
I mean, this is fine. Like it's not controversial. There's nothing really interesting about it. It's just a bit of stupid management. That's all it is.
It's disappointing in that we know about it now and that we have to wait an extra 6 months. That's the frustrating part.
When you started that story, I was worried you were going to tell me, oh, Shayner's like.
I just wanted you to go through it like that because that's how it was when we found out about it. That was the cycle of events was, oh, it's not there. And then DC put out a statement saying it's been pulled indefinitely. And then there was an update going, it's 6 months. And then Shayna kind of filled in why. So it was like this sequence of events that, again, could have just been mitigated by DC. Just when they put out that thing of delayed indefinitely, just say it's delayed 6 months in the first place.
Yeah. There you go. That is the solicits for March 2022. So we'll get into the actual comic books, and we will be kicking off with Batgirls issue 1, Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad writing with Jorge Corona on the art. And I will simply ask the question as I go and fetch my tablet, which is just over there charging. What did you think of Batgirls?
I thought that it was pretty good. However, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the backups that were leading up to it. I thought there was a bit too much narration in this issue. It got a little bit overly wordy for my tastes.
Okay, yeah. I don't even necessarily disagree with that. I think it being a full issue and not a 8-page story that we were getting before, it does have some other gremlins sneaking in. I will say though, characters still really fun, and as it progressed, and I really got this sort of like odd couple, like them living together kind of set up, and there's a serial killer on the loose. All that stuff is actually starts to feel really good. I think the narration is a bit overbearing at times, and I think it would be fine if it was first person. I think if it was like, say it was like Steph narrating, and it was like her sort of sense of humor and her reacting to things, it would probably work better. Because one of the things that I like most about this book probably is there's a few lines from her that really feel like old school, 2009, 2010 Stephanie Brown.
Yeah. At first I thought it was meant to be Steph, because so we have a lot of narration on the first page from the seer, which is in a kind of a pink box with this blue and yellow thing that makes it clear. And then when we transition to the Batgirls, it's purple boxes. And given that purple is traditionally Steph's color, I did think it was supposed to be hers, but it doesn't seem to be.
No, it sort of became clear it was more third person as it went on.
Yeah, unless it's supposed to be her writing something down the line, I don't know, but it didn't quite feel like Steph's dialogue. Not quite. It was close. Like, it was close enough that if you told me it was Steph, I'd maybe go, all right, sure. But it's not quite there either.
Yeah. So it's Babs still telling them to keep a low profile, don't create a ruckus, which leads to an awkward moment for Cass, where some thugs try to like steal the last box of things when they're moving in, and Cass just throws the fight, like she does. But of course, when Steph's like going to sneak out and say, "Hey, let's go and get those guys who stole the stuff from you," she looks out the window and they're already beat up, and it's like, damn it, Cass. You already beat me to it. And she's got a ridiculous.
She wanted her unicorn robe.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous bathrobe. So all this is just the excitement of bunk beds and all that. There's just a lot of fun character stuff. I think what I really like about it though is this idea they have to go low tech. So they have walkie talkies instead of smartphones. They've got an old CRT TV. They can't risk having a smart TV because the overseer could hack into it. So everything has to be sort of low tech, which I think gives it an interesting kind of vibe because we associate Oracle so much with high tech and like hacking and all that I don't know, we're going to at least spend a few issues or an arc with them all having to be cut down to basics,
including their bikes.
Yeah, she gives them mopeds, which they immediately ignore, and Cass stole the car keys from the muggers, so they've got their ridiculous car with a skull on the front of the hood.
A very traditional American muscle car.
Yes.
Very Mad Max-esque with the way it's decked out.
Yeah, so I think that's for me. Like, I enjoyed the first half of the character interactions, but I think that's when it really picked up, when it was like Steph and Cass kind of breaking the rules that Big Sister's let out for them, and sort of like, because I think it multiple times to say, Babs will understand. She'll understand why we did this.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, they reference this serial killer a few times. They reference this graffiti artist, Tutor, who goes around the city. They end up going down to save, like there's a bunch of like drug dealers or whatever. But the weird thing is, when they go out to save them, all of the workmen who were at this work site are all kind of like zombies. Like, not so much the brain eating kind, but more the like in a trance, like repeating the same sentence over and over kind.
Yeah, a lot of them have been hypnotized or brainwashed or something.
Yeah.
But they do have like the red eyes to make it very clear to us that no, this is a physical affliction.
Yeah. And I think the art got better as it went on as well. See that full page when they're in the fight with all the bad guys, and it's the yellow background with them, and they're sort of.
I do think that's a great page.
Yeah, it sort of does that thing where they're both kicking on opposite sides of the page, and their legs are kind of unnaturally long, but it works because it's kind of giving you that effect of like a lens distortion where they're going off the side of the page, and then you've got the extra panels of stuff at the top and the bottom. Really, really nice. Book has a good sense of style. I will say this, for any sort of rough edges where it's maybe a little overwordy at points, like I can kind of live with that if the book keeps this distinct voice that it has, and tone, because it does feel like it's really filling its own little corner of the Bat world.
I actually think as well, the second half of the issue, especially as we get towards the action stuff, the narration eases off a little bit.
Yeah,
it kind of comes and goes in waves throughout the issue, but
I wonder
when
if
it's there, it's heavy.
I wonder if the first issue is a bit heavier because it is the start and it's trying to establish,
it's possible,
a lot of things. But yeah, so Barbara's even waiting up for them when they get home, kind of almost becoming this. And I love when an artist can like do Cass in the mask, but still do like a facial expression where she looks kind of sad because they've been caught. I really dig that kind of thing.
It's all in the eyes on that one, isn't it?
Yeah,
and the hunched shoulders.
Where it really starts to click for me though in terms of plot, because I was obviously loving everything, like character voices were down pretty early, and then the action gets really good, the art gets even more interesting. I'm loving the mischievous vibes of like the younger Batgirls. Where I start getting interested though is when it starts doing Rear Window. When they see like a guy, like the grumpy neighbor disposing of like something, but it's the middle of the night, so it's kind of suspicious, and they immediately just jump to, what if he's a serial killer? There could be a body in that bag, and they just start theorizing, and they may be right because it'd be funny if they're right because it's just such a weird hunch.
There's no way they are right, but
yeah, but like the fun of them like theorizing and like them going after a killer, it does kind of have that. Even though they're not, I mean, I think Cass might still technically be a teenager, but like it has that kind of like teens, we're going to like take on the serial killer in the town vibe at various points.
It does, yeah.
And I'm down for that. So yeah, they jump down to investigate the dumpster at the end, sneak out again, and the issue ends with a group of characters showing up who the seer, who of course was at the first page, just so we all knew her, had sort of sent them on their scent. So this is a group called the Saints, named after Simon Saint, and they basically say the magistrate will never die. And I will critique something here on this page, and it's that if the 4 characters in this villain team weren't labeled, I wouldn't realize there was 4 of them. I would think there was maybe 2, because the ones on the left I thought were just the big ones, like leg and arm, because
I can see it when I'm looking for them.
Yeah,
but they do blend in a lot. Obviously, the Valentine on the right stands out a lot because the bright pink kind of separates her pretty distinctly.
Yeah, I genuinely thought that because now when I'm looking for them, I can sort of see the big one, Tarsus, has got his arm up, right, and he's gone over his shoulder. But I genuinely thought that was just like his arm or his leg in front of him, Assisi.
Especially as, I think it looks almost like fingers, like it looks like the hand kind of clenching, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then you got the sort of the robot dog, Fido5, which I do like that as a name for a robot dog. That's kind of funny. But
yeah, it's solid.
So that's a cliffhanger. Obviously, I like that all of these plot elements that they set up in those backups and lead-ins, which is the seer. There's a serial killer on the loose in this shitty part of town. Like, all these things are still ongoing. They're all in play. So yeah, a bit too much narration, and the art in that last page, like, they could have made these villains to be a bit more distinct. And even once I knew there was a character on the left, it actually took me away. I actually thought, like, the character's head, like, that was a hood, or that black part. I thought that was a hood, and they were, like, covering their face. But it took a bit more looking to realize, no, it's the Magneto-looking helmet with the green's the face, and that's the shoulder. So I will say that the art on the last page is a bit confusing, and I think it's all just down to the color scheme. Like, see if they just given a CC a bit more green to really make him stand
color
out.
Scheme and just the layout of where they're all stood. Like, when you have these lined up next to each other, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because they'll have that separation. It's because they're kind of in front. It's got that awkwardness. Also, I'm noticing there, this is part 1 of 6. That's a little bit concerning. I don't know if this story right now has the legs for 6 issues. It feels more like a 3 or 4 issue worth of story, but they could surprise me on that.
I think there's enough elements that, like, because we've got all these different spinning plates at the same time, I actually think it'll be fine for 6 issues. I think because the seer was mostly absent in this issue until, like, okay, she's why these guys have shown up at the end. But I can see it being, like, they're going to have to solve the killer problem. They're going to have to deal with that. It feels like there's enough interlinking things to solve that it might be fine, because, like, each issue will focus on something different, or at least bounce around enough things that's why it'll be 6 issues.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the length, but yeah. So a couple of nitpicks, but given how down I was when the team was announced for this, and then how much more positive I got when I read those lead-in, like, backups and mini stories, yeah, I had a good time with this. Bit wordy. Art on the last page is a bit confusing, but
yeah, I don't think it lived up to my expectations, but it's still pretty good.
But it's all,
like, I still enjoyed it. I'd still recommend it.
Yeah, and it's also only issue 1. Like, there's every chance it'll grow into what you expected.
I hope so. Yeah.
So, yeah. I had a good time. With it. What are you giving Batgirls issue 1?
I'm still gonna give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I'm happy to give it the straight 8 for me. Not completely perfect, but it's filling a void in DC that I have not filled in quite some time, and that's the bubbly. I mean, specifically Steph in a lot of ways, but even Cass, like, the bubbly sort of teenagery kind of attitude of, like, the rebellion. I know the Robins sometimes, like, fill that role a little bit, but Dick's grown up now, so he doesn't really feel like that. Tim's grown up. Like, Damien's the only one that kind of has that, but Damien's kind of all, like, onto his own, right? He's been onto his own for a long time.
Yeah, it's funny. We'll talk about Robin and Batman in a little bit, but, like, some of the teen stuff in that book kind of reminds me of this same sort of vibe of, like, yeah, okay, because maybe it's just the fact that we've not been reading, like, Teen Titans or even Young Justice really, and, like, whatever, in a long time.
If they wrote good Teen Titans and Young Justice books, I'd read them.
Exactly. There's some but maybe it's us not liking those takes. Maybe that stuff is there. We're just not reading that book, but it doesn't feel like it's there for us at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, my argument isn't really that it's not there. It's just that a good version of it's not there. That's ultimately what I care about, is that a version of it that I actually find enjoyable and want. So, yeah. I mean, I'll have to pull some serious tricks to, like, even get close to Brian Q. Miller's Batgirl run, but, give them a chance. Let's see what they do.
Yeah, this is nowhere near the quality of the start even of that run.
Yeah.
Like that came out swinging harder than this did, I would say.
Yeah, but that's, like, a really special run. That's one of my favorites of all time. So, I mean,
that's fair.
Bars are leveled at various places. So, Robin and Batman issue 2, Jeff Lemire writing, Dustin Nguyen on the art, and this was not a surprisingly good issue 1, but, like, I almost had no expectations for it, just because it was like, they kind of threw out the announcement, It was in the solicits, little fanfare, but obviously issue 1 was very good.
At the same time, it's Lemire and Nguyen, so you're expecting good things.
Yeah, so this part of the story is Dick gets into a fight at school because some bullies try to pick on him, and he just beats the shit out of them because he's Dick Grayson. He gets into trouble with the headmaster, and the headmaster kind of, like, is Bruce Wayne really a good father figure for this kid? Like, he's this rich playboy. Maybe he's not got time. He's not even came to this meeting to pick him up.
Yeah, Alfred's basically like, F you. Bruce Wayne's great.
Pretty much, yeah. Alfred's attitude with this, because when they get back in the car and Dick says, "I'm sorry, Alfred," and he's like, "But you said they started it." That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they did start it.
Yeah. He's not a dick about it, and he gives him the journal, which is obviously where some of the narration at the start and the end of the books is coming from. Is Dick writing in his journal? But it is his birthday, and when he brings Dick back, Batman's like, "Hey, suit up! It's time to go. We got stuff to do, and it's not in Gotham." And he does apologize. He does actually apologize for like invading his privacy and reading his private thoughts, and says, "No, put on the suit. It's still yours. We got somewhere to go." So this is actually the story of him taking him to the Watchtower, the satellite, and him not only meeting the Justice League for the first time, but also meeting his fellow first generation Teen Titans for the first time. And what's neat, because we actually got a story kind of like this. This was way back at the start of the show. There was that one issue of Justice League, which was actually still the old Justice League series, but Rebirth had already started.
Oh yeah.
And I remember really liking that one issue because it was like, it had that ending where, Dick's like, "Oh, one day you're training me because one day I'm going to be on the Justice League," and he's like, "No, I'm training you because one day you're going to lead the Justice League." And that was like a really neat like ending. This was kind of like a different take on that, which is, so Dick's obviously there. He's really excited to meet Superman and all the other heroes. They're going off to fight Mongol, and Hawkman is pissed because he's on babysitting duty. He has to stay back and look after the brats. Yeah. So there's a little bit of banter with them, but Dick goes and meets the other, and it's the classic team. It's this Wally, it's Donna, it's Garth, and Roy. Right? It's the classic Teen Titans team. And of course, Wally's the first one to talk to him and introduce himself, because of course he has to be. They're the best friends, so the heart and soul. They have to be. Donna's obviously very nice. Roy's a dick. Garth's just grumpy. It's the characterization is all we expect.
It's Think Hands 101.
Yeah, it's all on point. But they're all like, "Hey, we should be going on this mission. We should be doing stuff." And Dick says, "Hey, we can do a mission." And like, "Okay, we're listening, new guy. Like, what you got?" And he's like, "Hey, well, we can do this. We can check the computer for other things that are smaller that we can go and deal with ourselves. And we can sneak past Hawkman in the vents." So we get this whole fun... I mean, I love how you see Hawkman sort of look up because he hears a noise briefly and then just says, whatever, and just goes back to listen to his music.
Yeah.
Although it is kind of funny now how we're doing, and I know obviously these are Elseworlds or whatever, and you can kind of just fit them into continuity where you want in terms of
the older stories with smartphones.
Yeah, he's got a smartphone in his hand, and I'm like, I almost wish they didn't do that, just so it felt timeless, just so that if you want to think this is the story that it started with, then you can.
I get that, but for the foreseeable future, this is just as timeless.
I mean, they're probably not going away. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying that, but it's still not like most of like all of these origin stories happened in a time before smartphones. So I almost wish they resisted the urge to do it.
I get it, but I don't mind that. Hey, if we're going to do origin stories now, we might as well have smartphones. If we're going to keep pretending they're of an age that roughly correlate to real world times, at some point we're going to get Batman Year One where there are smartphones, right?
I don't want to hear it.
We're a little bit off from that just yet, but it's going to happen eventually.
I don't want to see this. No. Like, I mean, you have the sliding scale, I suppose, so eventually that might just be like the obvious thing to do, but...
Yeah, that's what I want about, yeah.
But, like, even with a story like this where you're doing the early story of Dick Grayson, because in my head, that's... And even though, yes, we've had smartphones long enough now that you could argue, yes, his first year of Robin, like, smartphones already existed in, like, 2010 or whatever, but... part of me almost just feels like to make it feel old school, to make it feel timeless, you just take away things that date it specifically, and that's like just one of these things.
Because again, I think we're getting to a point, especially with characters like Robin, who are young enough. In terms of like how old is Dick meant to be? Early 20s?
I'd say mid-20s at this. I mean, if you're talking about current continuity, I'd say he should be at least at mid-20s, given
All right, fair enough.
given what everyone else is.
Sure. But I mean, the first iPhone was what, 2008?
Yeah, this is like technicalities I don't really care about. My issue is not where it lines up. My issue is I want it to be timeless. And
yeah,
you're saying, well, it's 2008. Well, that's not timeless then, because you're giving me a year.
No. I'm saying that pretty soon any origin story of a character this age will have to have smartphones in, because that will just be how it is, timeless. Because otherwise, it puts it post 2008, but it'll get to a point where that doesn't matter anymore, because that's just the world we live in.
Yeah, but we're decades away from that.
Only for older characters.
No, for that to feel timeless, we're decades. This is not about the characters. This is about us as people. We are decades away from that feeling timeless.
Yeah.
When I watch a movie that feels timeless, it doesn't have any modern tech in it, right? That's what makes it feel timeless, is that this could be circa any time between, I don't know, 60s and 90s. Like, that's timeless to me.
But that's still a very specific 30-year window you've picked out as what timeless is.
Yeah, well, it's only
before that is old, by that assumption.
Well, yeah, but that's only because if you go further back than that, then you're taking away such basic things that you're at a point where, like, you're doing like almost a noir story because you're going back to the 40s.
Right, and I'm arguing we're getting to a point in society where smartphones are such basic things that they are bordering already on, it's timeless, because this is
no, it's not. They're 13 years old. Your time scale on this is so skewed. 13 years old is not timeless. We're not even close to that yet.
Oh, we are getting close to it.
We are not close to it.
We are.
This is such a weird debate, especially since you're supposed to be younger than me. You should be arguing the opposite.
I'm supposed to be younger. I am younger than you.
But you should be arguing the opposite, though. It's weird to me that you're arguing this way around.
No, I think this actually makes sense to me for the younger people, theoretically, to argue it more anyway. In the sense that younger people, especially people who are younger than me, have spent most of their lives with smartphones being a thing.
Sure.
Like, it'll be like, you don't have to go, only a couple of years younger than me, and it is the majority of their lives have been smartphones.
Look, you can say what you want, but smartphones are only 13 years old, and therefore it dates it very specifically. I think for anyone over the age of like 10.
All I'm saying is we don't see the front of the phone. Maybe it's a BlackBerry.
Oh yeah, because that doesn't date it into a very specific window of time.
All I'm saying is, look, it's a phone with a camera is all we are really settled on here. There is no point that says it's a smartphone.
Look, all I said is that I like stories like this to feel timeless, and having a piece of technology that is this new makes it not feel timeless. That's all I'm saying.
New. Such an old man. Give it the times.
Jesus Christ. Right. Anyway, so Teen Titans Go and basically solve some crimes. There's a few 2-page spreads of them just dealing with various robberies and a giant robot to Toyman. I actually really like that page, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's really neat. There's a pirate ship one with like King Shark and like I think that's Tweedledee and Tweedledum off to the side. And then they come back, they sneak past the Hawkman just in time so they're not caught. And it's like, okay, so they've had this little misadventures together, a little bit of mischief, but they've been doing good. Which, by the way, World's Greatest Detective and like the Justice League, yeah, they're not going to notice it on the news the next day. Oh, a team of young superheroes saved like the city with a giant robot.
I assume Batman knows already. By the end of it, Batman already knows.
Okay, Batman already does, but the rest of them, even the rest of them, don't have to be Batman to just on the news, a team of young superheroes fought a giant robot in the middle of Central City or wherever it is.
They'll notice, but too late then. What can you do? It's already happened.
Yeah. So Batman shows up and says let's go, but Dick's successfully bonded with the team, which is very nice. and he's all excited to tell Alfred about meeting everyone, meeting the young heroes, and like Alfred's commending it, and then Batman's like, Robin, mission debrief, and then there's just this page of like 4. I mean,
at first I thought this was he knew what had happened. He was like, right, I want you to tell me about your adventures. Like what did you do?
Yeah. Instead, it's actually a little bit more, even more Batman than that. It's basically, Robin, tell me the weaknesses of each of the Teen Titans. And so there's this page where he goes through the 4 other members and just sort of like says, okay, this is the first target. They're the weakest for this reason. This is so and so's weakness, and how we'd exploit them. And then Alfred is pissed. Batman's like, good boy. Batman's like, yes, my protege has learned very well from me. Very delightful. And this makes Alfred call him a bastard. Alfred's like, no, let him be a child. What you've made him do this. And this isn't like Batman's preparing him to specifically fight them. This is just Batman's logic that he has with the Justice League, which is, if the day comes, you have to know how to take them down. You have to be able to win that fight.
All of them, any of them.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah, I like this page a lot. This scene, I like this scene a lot of like Dick. Well, because it doesn't get. I don't get the impression that Dick was. I think Dick did genuinely enjoy meeting them. He did genuinely enjoy having a good time and bonding with them and going out and being a superhero with them.
100%.
But he still like did the Batman tactical thing in the back of his head.
Even if we weren't seeing it, even if it wasn't on the forefront of his mind, as soon as he stops to think about it, he's like, yeah, okay, I've got it. Because Batman's just trained him that well, essentially, already.
Yeah. So, it's very good.
Yeah. And proving why Alfred is the best.
Yes, and it also contrasts nicely at the start with the teacher saying that maybe Bruce isn't, and obviously he doesn't know what he's saying specifically, but we know that, maybe Batman isn't the best father figure because this is the way he's trained him.
And I think it's fascinating to see Alfred go from defending him at the start of the issue to being like, no, Bruce Wayne is the best, to this, like, no, you bastard. How dare you do this to him? Yeah,
well, that's just part of the nuance of the Bruce and Alfred relationship, but it's best. Yeah. That's just what makes it so compelling. And then the final scene of the issue, which went in super quick, might I add, is just Killer Croc, because obviously he recognized Robin last issue. He's got the calculator trying to track down the young Grayson boy because he remembers his parents, and he doesn't have a home for him, but he does know which school he goes to. So the end of the issue is Croc waiting outside the school, and yeah, I'm super intrigued. Only 1 issue left of this, but I've loved both issues. So.
Oh no, they've been fantastic.
If anything, I think this issue was better than the first one. So
I definitely think it was. I think having that group dynamic, really just made it shine and kind of broke up the issue into 2 distinct halves. And
it's also perfect because obviously I didn't realize this when I was reading it the first time, but it's perfect in hindsight. Starting with him having trouble interacting with other kids at the school, but then then he meets other kids that are like him. At the Watchtower, and then he does find his peers. He does find people that he can bond with, and I think that's a really nice, contrast, which is obviously set up intentionally, but it's really
definitely
smart writing. So very good.
Wynn's art is just fantastic throughout.
Yeah, it's got that kind of dreamlike quality to it that it always does.
It's got a very unique, that soft watercolor kind of style that he does.
It's the sort of thing
it's always fantastic.
Like some other great artists, he's not suitable for every type of story.
No, that's okay.
I would argue that he's not really suitable. I mean, I'm not saying that he can't do it and he's not done it in the past, but he's not as suitable for just a straight Batman story. But a story from Robin's perspective, I think he fits much more because of that kind of childlike experience of living in that world and the way he sees it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he did some Batman stuff.
I think he did some streets. I think he did some Streets of Gotham. Back in like 2009, 2010. Period. Yeah. Which is why I'm saying I know he has done some in the past, but even that's not Bruce Wayne Batman. That's Dick and Damian. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
So you do have a difference there. So no, good stuff. What are you giving Robin and Batman issue 2?
I'm giving it a 9.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. 9 out of 10. It's just very good. Very good stuff.
Yeah.
So, Batman the Imposter issue 3. Mattson, Tomlin writing, Andrea Sorrentino on the art. And obviously, I was looking forward to this as well. This has been excellent thus far. This is the third and final book of the series, and really deals with the effect that the imposter has on Batman's reputation, the effect that it has both on Batman himself and the detective, who does find out about him. In fact, Ratcatcher has this really dark scene at the start where he grabs the cop's gun and kills himself while he's been interrogated. So it's a really dark scene. And it's kind of like Batman's fault because Batman scared the shit out of him so much when he interrogated him. But of course, one of the things he says that really catches the detective's eye, or ear, I should say, is like he acted like he didn't know me, which is kind of the first real piece of evidence to her that there is another one. Like, there's more than one Batman running out there, and kind of plants that seed and sets us down this path. So really neat, and Bruce gives up the therapy, says, "Hey, you would have turned me in weeks ago at this point. Like, this therapy's over."
And I think that's possibly the most disappointing element of this issue for me, in that it makes complete sense from the narrative perspective as to why he does that, and it gives us an excuse to kind of actually focus in on the plot for the last issue.
Yeah.
But those therapy sessions were the highlight of the previous parts of this book.
I think the ending for me makes it work because it ties it back into, like, okay, maybe I can't like get much out of this, but that doesn't mean I don't trust you to help other people. It doesn't mean that you don't provide something valuable.
When I say it's the most disappointing aspect for me, I'm not saying it's a negative. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's the right thing for this book. It's just disappointing on a personal level, because that was the bit I was excited for. Yeah.
So there's a great couple of pages where it's like it flips them, but like Batman's on top for 1 2-page layout, and Detective's on the bottom, as they're both sort of figuring things out and questioning things. He's looking for the imposter because he got enough intel to know that he's in the sewers, so he's going looking for him. Some great art, going in there. He finds the hideout, finds some evidence, a weapon with a symbol on it. But where this issue really picked up for me was when the imposter shows up at the hideout, and just the way it's sort of like the bright orange of the brat tat of him like trying to fire the gun, and then the fight that ensues afterwards between them.
Something Sorrentino kills at is having. I know Belair does the colors on this issue, but I know Sorrentino always sets the color palette that he wants on books, so it's kind of following his template, and this is very much in that Sorrentino style of having these colors highlighted against the dark background. He often does it with like reds and whites, but here it's the yellow. Yeah. It just it pops. It's so great.
Yeah. Even the next 2-page layout where it's they've fallen in the water. There's like the coloring like shows you when they're in the water, when they're out the water, when the fight's getting more intense because it turns red. Like there's a flow to it through the choice of colors. Although my favorite part of the art might actually be when the cops show up down the tunnel and you get all the laser sights hitting Batman, and it's the harsh like light of the torches hitting them. Yeah, I love all that stuff. And then
I think it's really impressive as well that Bella can have the light feel so unnatural here. Like it feels like these torchlight as opposed to all the other the daylight and stuff that we have elsewhere in the issue.
It's high contrast. It's harsh. It cuts to dark shadows very abruptly, and then Batman sets off the flashbang and like makes his move, and he ends up just like he comes up through a sewer top because he's desperate. He's trapped in a bit of a corner, and he comes out into the city. It's at the middle of like an intersection in a busy city street, and there's just like cars around him. So he's really uncomfortable here because he's surrounded by noise and light. This is not where Batman normally operates. So I love
other people are scared of him as well because well, they all think Batman's a serial killer right now.
And I love the feeling of this page. I really thought it like got this like uncomfortable nature for him, everyone else as well, but him especially. Yeah. And then he commandeers a vehicle, we'll say, to put it lightly. And like she chases after him. She hears on the police radio where he is, and she's smart enough to go to a rooftop instead of. I'll let me not gloss over the page though of him ziplining above the city with a low angle panel. That looks
so good,
phenomenal. But there's a police helicopter. She shows up and shoots him. Not kills him obviously, but shoots him. And this is where he takes off his mask and shows her who he is. And of course, they got close last issue. They got romantically involved. There's a tear down her face, and he just kind of pleads, "I don't kill people. Batman does not kill people. There's someone else out there." And she's had that seed planted from earlier in the issue, from someone else. There was a source that implied this very thing. So there's just enough of this to like make her doubt what she has to do here. And he says, like, either you're letting me go or you're killing me. Those are the only two things that are going to happen here. And she doesn't kill him. She can't. She doesn't take the shot. Yeah. And that panel of her standing there with the harsh light of the helicopter above her in the next page is really, really good. So really good stuff. This all kind of leads to the idea that Bruce kind of gets like the scent of who it is, and the fact that the cops showed up so quick and knew kind of where they were, it implied that this is probably a cop. And the only character we've really set up enough for it to be is the big guy, the big cop who's a bit more aggressive. It's like, okay, it's probably him.
Probably. That's fine. There's only so much you can do in a short story.
Yeah, I don't think the issue or this series has tried to focus on like the mystery being the compelling part, so I don't think it matters that it's not like a super big bombshell.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction. If that was the focus of the story, it would probably matter more.
The focus has always been, how is it affecting Bruce? How is it affecting the reputation of the Batman? Like, those have been the things that I've been really focused on. And Batman trying to like sort of prove that he's innocent to certain characters has been more important than who the actual imposter is the whole time. So that's totally fine. And this is where he like says the therapy's done. And you know, like he's like, I have to take out the imposter. If it's the last thing I do, I need to take out the imposter. Because he's ruining everything he's building. So he asks her to show up to the he says the imposter's a cop, like, you know, help me, you know, get the evidence I need. I can't go into police lockup and get it. And he notably takes off his mask so it's like really him talking to her. But asks her, like, you know, do you really think I'm not making a difference? The Batman doesn't make a difference. And she really questions herself. There's a great page where she's like, you know, he manipulated Gordon. He's manipulating me. Which I thought was interesting that when she says that he's manipulating me, it's like a panel of them in bed together. And I just sort of, I sort of chuckled to myself because the implication was almost, oh, did he sleep with Gordon too? Is that how he manipulated Gordon? But yeah. Maybe. So, no. Some good stuff here. They meet on a building that's like half, like, you know, there was a fire like a year ago. It's a Wayne building that is currently being done back up, and the imposter shows up, takes a shot at her because it's almost like he senses that she's looking into things now because she's Dustin for Prince, because she's asking the questions that might lead to him. So we get a bit of a dangling, you know, cliffhanger sequence basically of her dangling off the beam. Again, a lot of great action here, playing with the colors, the negative space, the harsh red of the blood, all that stuff. She ends up saving Batman though, by shooting the guy off the, you know, well, actually, Batman also stabs him in the eye with a batarang.
Yeah, that does do a fair bit of damage.
Which is quite violent. He does go to grab him though. He does want to save him. He's actually holding on to him. And he himself actually like stabs Batman in the hand with the batarang so that he'll lose his grip. So yeah, he made his choice. Like, this is on him that he fell to his death.
He was like, I'd rather die than go to prison for all this.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and she still cuffs Batman, and Batman says, you know, do you really think Batman doesn't make a difference? And the next page is her standing on her own, and the cuffs are on the ground. And the birds are flying, the sun rises. You know, it's all very, very cinematic and poetic and all the rest of it.
Yeah. It gives me a little bit of a hope for the new Batman movie.
Sim writer, so I could...
No, yeah, that doesn't mean there was a genuine reason there. It's like, oh, okay. He understands the core idea of, don't get me wrong, this is a different take on Batman, but if I could see this as a movie. Like if you were doing a movie of a Batman movie, this would work as a thing.
I also think that I mean, obviously you combine this guy's writing skills with Matt Reeves' direction, and we're hopefully in for a treat. Like, that's basically the
same thing as what we're doing here with Sorrentino's art, right? Is kind of just bringing this home. Like the core idea, the core story, the themes that it's playing with are all solid, and then Sorrentino's just, you know, bringing it home with the great storytelling. I'm assuming that's what we're expecting Matt Reeves to do with his direction, is, you know, bring it home with hopefully what is a half a decent script as what this was presumably given to Sorrentino.
Yeah, I think what I dig about this ending, right? Because obviously the cop, she survives in the hospital bed, and she's conflicted about everything. And you've got like the final like narration of Leslie Tompkins and all that. But so you have this sort of kind of like downbeat ending for Batman in the sense that he doesn't like have this happy save the day ending. He doesn't like learn this valuable lesson and like tell Leslie that she's right. He actually still left the way he did. But there's just this like olive branch at the end of you think he's going to like beat the shit out of the ventriloquist, right? Because it sort of treats it very it's intimidating. And he says, "Are you here to kill me?" It's all very dark and moody. But then he shows up at Leslie's door with a note that's just a bat symbol. So he says, "A friend sent me, thinking that you might be able to help me." It's like he's looking out for people and trying to like help them now, and rehabilitate them instead of just they're not all just completely crazy violent assholes that should be beaten to a pulp. And so
it's another non-continuity in this case, but example of maybe there are other places of therapy better than just sending them to Arkham, which allegedly is for rehabilitation and therapy, because it's I said allegedly.
Allegedly. Emphasis on allegedly, yes.
Yes, heavily allegedly. But it's everyone kind of knows it's not, and I like the idea of Bruce kind of understanding that last time, like, right, we need to try something different, and in this case, it's Leslie, as opposed to Arkham Tower, which, let's be honest, is probably going to go very badly because it's got a name like Arkham Tower.
Yeah, I'm excited about that, though. So
I am as well, but I don't think it's going to be the long-term solution in the same way that sending them to Leslie is.
Yeah, not at all. I think what I like about it is that it's this idea that he's accepting, or at least he's making the statement that, like, I am what I am the Batman, and I am this screwed up. It kind of mirrors, obviously there's no Alfred in this story, really, but it kind of mirrors like what the story beats with Alfred usually are, which is Alfred to a point tries to make Bruce better, tries to like fight. And Alfred does succeed over time in a way because he is kind of the heart of Batman, and him being there, that was something we explored when Alfred died in the main continuity, was that with him gone, Batman's a bit harsher because he doesn't have that heart grounding him that Alfred was. And I think this story kind of hits on this idea in a really dramatic way, which is that he's still Batman, he's going to be who he is, but he's opening up to at least one person around him for like, and saying, okay, I understand, I'm going to try and do better. I'm going to try and help and not just create more monsters. And that's kind of the point. And it does tease the Joker, you get a bit of laughter in the cell. At least I thought that's what it was teasing, but it was going to Scarface stuff. Maybe it's just Scarface laughing. It could be.
I think it's just Scarface, yeah.
But it was right after they talked about creating more monsters, so I was just kind of thinking, it feels like, Joker's coming someday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like a really nice ending, sending him to Tompkins, and then it shows the kind of like both like the grave sites of everyone, of her parents, the Waynes, and Otis, which was the Ratcatcher who died. So it's the idea that the Ratcatcher's death did have an impact on Bruce as well. That sort of made him realize
he did feel responsible for it, even if he didn't think he was doing it the wrong thing at the time.
Yeah, and I like that. Again, we'll go back to the colors, but the coloring in that last page at the gravesite is just a little bit more natural and warmer looking than a lot of the rest of the book.
Yeah, especially the flowers. The red and the green. Because there's been a lot of greens and reds in this book in particular, but they've been like kind of like moody greens or like really harsh, vibrant, like dark, deep reds. Whereas this is flowers. It's very natural.
And the sky, isn't this harsh white. It's this more natural sort of cream kind of. And that's what the sky looks like. I'm saying that in the context of the comic art, it's more natural to the eyes. It's more pleasant on the eyes.
Yeah, it's a bit softer.
Yeah. So no, really, really neat. So yeah, it does make you feel a little bit more confident about the movie. It does.
It does. Yeah, and. Not that I was particularly worried because it had a good trailer and it's got a good director and a good cast.
It's the idea that you have this really dark story about Batman, but there is kind of ultimately there is a hopeful beat in there at the end that feels really uplifting because it's like, no, there's a light in the darkness, which is kind of what Batman's supposed to be in a lot of ways.
It feels like, even if this is a different take on Batman, which it is, that's fine. It's a black label. It's supposed to be a different take. That's not my concern. But the point is that this guy, understands the core of Batman in a way that can't be said for every writer of the Batman movies.
Just say Zack
Maybe
Snyder.
even most of them.
Just say Zack Snyder. It's fine. You can name and
I
shame.
mean, he's not the only one.
He's not the only one, but he's the biggest culprit.
He's the most recent culprit for sure, yes, and probably the worst offender, but he's not the only one. But it's nice to know that, that this guy does understand Batman at its core and is able to translate into a different take, which is what you want in someone writing a movie.
Yes. And of course, unlike this, there is an Alfred still present in the movie. So, but I do imagine, because I mean, it's definitely a very angry, violent Batman in the trailer. So I'm really excited now to see how they do that in the film.
Yeah, this feels like, not that it's the exact same idea as the movie, but it might play with similar themes, I suspect.
I can see that happening. So yeah, and the art's phenomenal, obviously, as we've been praising throughout. Yeah. We were noting down multiple panels and pages as we were going there. So what are you giving Batman the Imposter issue 3?
I'm going to give this one a 9 as well.
Yeah. I think I will also go 9. I was tempted to go a little bit higher. I think the only reason why I won't is just because, the actual resolution to the mystery, well, it wasn't the focus, so it's not a big deal. It's a bit more just kind of, yes, whatever, it's fine. But, so it's just not as immaculately perfect as the rest of the elements are. So.
It's made a great book, though. This will be a fantastic, hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
That, this is one of those books where if you've got someone who's not into comics so much, but they like Batman, especially if they like the darker, more realistic Batman that you see in the movies often, this will be a great gift trade for them.
Oh. So, there you go. That's Batman the Imposter issue 3. Wonder Woman 782, Becky, Cloonan and Michael Conrad writing with Marcio Takara on the art. And the last issue, of course, was the cliffhanger of all the fake Wonder Woman flying towards the plane that Diana was on with Dead Man and a corpse. just for all the important details that you need to know. Dead Man was in a corpse.
That detail is more important than you might think. Just in terms of recapping, it comes up quite a lot in this issue.
Yeah. So Diana's like, okay, well, I guess I better go change into my onesies. That's what I'm calling her outfit now. Her onesies.
I hate that. I hate you for putting that into the world. If I ever hear anyone else ever say that, I'm blaming you.
At Connor Ryan 94, everyone, just whenever you're ready. So they fight all the fake Wonder Woman on the plane and smash them to bits because they are kind of fragile and made like a sort of glass-like sort of thing. So Wonder Woman lands the plane, and they're like, okay, what the hell's going on? Is Dr. Psycho behind this? It feels like his sort of shenanigans. But we still have to go and do this thing with the sword for Siegfried. We still have to go do that. So let's go and deal with that. And also, she keeps putting off talking to Steve. Well, she tries to call him at one point, but the connection's bad. Doesn't really work. She also doesn't.
It's also the middle of the night.
Yeah,
there's a time difference.
Yeah, it's like 8 a.m. in Sweden. She's like, yeah, I'll call Steve in Washington, and it's like 2 a.m. or something stupid like that. So, but the call kind of drops because the connection's bad. Which, maybe a bit on the nose with the Dr. Psycho comparing something to a bad international cell phone call on the next page. Like maybe just a touch too on the nose.
Just a little bit, yeah. This is one of those examples of, there's a trend in comics at the minute that I don't know if you've noticed, of trying to link dialogue and narration like scene to scene to give it this seamless transition, which is something that's been done a lot over the years. But recently, there's been a trend of just sticking the last bit of your dialogue on the next page, whether it's actually relevant or not, just as a way of linking them. I don't think it really works, but this kind of feels like it's not quite that. It's actually trying to link them thematically instead of just finishing the dialogue, but it does it in a arguably even clunkier way of just, it's there just to have this link. It doesn't actually make sense as an analogy that would have been used normally.
Although Dr. Psycho is actually broadcasting an ad for his but he comes across as like a 2-bit psychic who's trying to convince everyone that he can speak, like people are speaking through him, and he comes across as a charlatan, and he starts talking. He starts like having someone else talk through him, He's like, I'm channeling all spirit. A champion, speak through me. Tell us your name. And but then it cuts to Ed is like answering a phone call, and he's just on TV, and he just it's like Cisco's undoing delusion. Sorry, it's just like obviously it's building up to something, but I kind of love the idea of him being just this cheap like guy who's shilling his book and like his performances that people go to.
I think the worst part is we know he has actual power, so it's like okay, there's a reason for this. It's doing something.
Oh, no doubt. So yeah, but then we go to Sweden where they get to the grave place or the final maybe where he died. They're not sure if it's the grave site or if it's where he died, but either way, they're at where he perished, and Wonder Woman puts the sword in, and yeah, this sort of
little moment.
Little moment. Although she does give Dead Man the coat because Dead Man's corpse is starting to feel freezing.
Yes, because it's cold-blooded or no-blooded at this point. There is nothing internal to keep it warm, so it is literally freezing.
But basically, you kind of get the sense that it's kind of passed by its sell-by date, and he probably needs to move on soon.
Yeah,
it's kind of the gist you get. A bunch of the fake Wonder Women start flying over the city and causing chaos, which is what the phone call they get is about.
Actually, I really like that panel where just before she gets the phone call, just the looking down on the sword in the memorial with the light in behind coming through the clouds, and it was a gorgeous panel.
Oh yeah, that's very pretty. There's even a bit of comedy. Is like, oh, we didn't silence the phone for the dramatic funeral that we're having.
It's like, I forget I have one.
Yeah. So of course they're flying back. Proper just flying in the sky, Wonder Woman style, because they don't have time. But it's actually mid-flight that Dead Man's like, you know what, this body's done.
Yeah, you'll have to drop me.
Just drop me. And then like Dead Man, like the spirit version pops up at the bottom of the page, just like, that's much better. All right, where are we? Let's get going. So yeah, and it actually builds up to kind of the reveal of who is doing this. This specifically, obviously, I still suspect Dr. Psycho might be involved, but who's specifically creating these copies? So we have a sort of new villain. I think it's a new villain. I'm not familiar with them.
New to me.
People can fill us in if it is an old timer, but the Image Maker, and he's revealed in this sort of couple of pages at the end where there's a lot of like mirror images of Wonder Woman and then like him in shadow. It's a really nice. It's kind of like one of those Hall of Mirrors kind of scenes.
Yeah, Image Maker says master of the mirror world. So team up with Mirror Master soon. I take it, yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. Maybe he hates Mirror Master. Maybe he's like, damn, that charlatan made that stupid like mirror gun.
Upstart.
Yeah, I'm the real Mirror Master.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just says Diana faces herself next issue, as you'd expect. So I'm enjoying the story here. I think her banter with Dead Man is mostly pretty fun. I like the tension of like building up to talking to Steve again. I think they're handling that kind of well and the close calls. Dr. Psycho's proven to be fairly entertaining with his little shtick right now as we're building him up.
Yeah, I've been enjoying Psycho. I think it's still at the moment hard for me to read Psycho the same, thanks to the Harley Quinn show, which had a very unique take on Psycho. I hope some of the elements of that version are kind of brought into this now.
Yeah,
but I'm looking forward to kind of delving into that stuff as we go through this.
I almost think, like, maybe I don't know if this is what he's doing it for, but I almost like the idea that they're kind of like almost dismissing him as a serious threat because he does look like such a goofball right now. They're not taking him as seriously as they should be, perhaps.
I can definitely see some real world parallels sneaking in with that.
Mm-hmm. So
some politicians that we didn't take as seriously as we should have done.
I can see some things brewing along those lines. So yeah, and the art's pretty solid as well. So I have a good time. It's a shame that I'm probably gonna have to drop this book for a couple of months when this trial of the Amazons thing kicks in.
It's really disappointed me to learn how heavily it's going to be just part 1, part 2, in each book, and
yeah,
that. I mean, I'll try the first issue, but I'm a lot less optimistic now than I was.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of there with you. So anyway, it's not bad. It's not a bad issue. Had a good time. I'm enjoying reading Wonder Woman again, even if I'm going to have to pause again for a little bit. What are you giving 782?
It's just a 7 from me, but I mean it's pretty good. It's solid.
Yeah, no, I agree with the 7. It's good. Not exceptional, but good time.
It just sounds worse coming after 2 9s.
It's for me. It's very similar to the Flashbook for me right now, which is just a good solid yarn with the character. And
yeah, I've been enjoying this book for a while now, and it's solid 7. Yeah, sometimes there's I like having a couple of those books. I don't not every book is going to be the big massive 9s and special thing. Sometimes I just want some good solid superhero action.
Yeah. Wonder Girl issue 6, Joelle Jones with Leila Del Duca on the art. So this continuing on Yara's story, and we were all a little bit down on the last couple issues. We were starting to get a little frustrated. I will say that I'm probably going to drop it now after this issue.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm a little bit more mixed on this on this issue in that it's starting to play a bit more with the mythology again. Or more accurately, it's teasing playing with the mythology again. But by the end, I feel that we're just in the same place again as we were 3 issues ago.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just rushing through some of its ideas a bit too quickly, and therefore a lot of it's not having weight. Yara gets trapped in this issue in a cage by the big giant dude, right? And Eros shows up, right, and starts talking to her, and he's like, "Why did you turn down Hera's offer?" Blah blah blah, right? And they're having this sort of debate, and he's upset about it, and she's like, "I don't want to be like someone's attack dog. I'd rather die a natural death after a human life than live forever as someone that I'm not supposed to be," and so on and so on. But there's a moment here, and then she says at the end, though, even if it's with someone that I love, and like he's already gone when she says that, but like, I'm like, I could not give a shit about you. The fact that you might think as a writer that I might even entertain the idea that she's in love with Eros in any way that means something to me, as in that you've earned it.
I would say I don't think it's supposed to. If I recall, didn't Eros, because Eros is basically Cupid.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Didn't Eros like shoot her with the arrow to make her think she was in love?
He did. The problem for me though is that, like, the book almost barely acknowledged or played with the idea that love was like a manipulation, and like played and used it as a story where we're seeing her go through these moments where she should be making a different decision, but we're sort of watching her like almost start to like find herself from within or so. It's never done that. It just kind of like, we went through this weird training issue montage of her like preparing to be Hera's attack dog, and then she said no because it wasn't right for her, and that's fine. And then there's been a lot of action since then. We've just been kind of churning through a lot of encounters, I feel like, with her in this book, which is a shame. I just don't feel like the story's flowing naturally. So this moment where it's like this even with someone I love at the end, like I had to stop and think about it. I'm like, wait, what? Oh yeah, I guess, but I don't know. It doesn't. I felt frustrated by all of it.
I'm with you. Joe, I will say, is the best thing in this issue.
Yes.
The art still managing to look fantastically like Joelle Jones's art, even though it's a different artist again to last issue.
Nah, that's a fair point. Obviously after this, she ends up fighting the big giant, stabs him in the ankle. And that art is solid. It's all very solid stuff. She's kind of.
I was trying to figure out who this giant was supposed to be, if it was supposed to be anyone particular, because we're in Tartarus, we're playing with Greek mythology, and this stabbing here, I was like, oh, is this supposed to be like a take on Achilles? Because this is roughly the Achilles heel, right?
Yeah, that's just in the right place for it. I mean, you'll know better than I do.
There's no reference to that later. There's no.
Maybe it kind of is, but it's just like an Easter egg. It's not important for anything.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, like the action's fine, and she has like a moment where she saw, and this is the sort of thing. Maybe like delving into this a bit more would be nice. Is this idea she's going to use Ebola, and she's like, she can do different things with it and get different effects out of it if she channels the right kind of like ideas and stuff. And it kind of touches on it briefly, but not enough. Like I'm like, go into this more. Like talk about how she can channel like fire or lightning or whatever based on whatever god she's tapping into or whatever it is, right? Like but it just kind of mentions it briefly, and then there's a scene where she actually does it and like electrocutes the giant, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Make that a thing. That should be the end of an issue. That should be like an arc over an issue of her like learning to use this properly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say maybe that still could come, because this isn't learning to use it properly. This is still just heat of the moment. It worked.
Yeah.
There's no control still.
It feels like it's not focusing on the elements of the story that I think are interesting, and instead just keeps like throwing mythology so quickly that it's just kind of churning through it.
And this is a lot that me and Matt love the mythology, right? In general, as a rule. And this book isn't really working for either of us right now either, unless for some reason Matt loved this issue, which I suspect he didn't. But maybe he had a change of heart. I don't know. But up until now, we've kind of been in the same sort of situation where it's not hitting that stuff correctly.
Yeah. And then of course Donna and Cass are with the Esquicida. What's it?
Yeah.
All right. The Brazilian Amazon tribe. And they're basically the door to Olympus, and Yara's, we've already seen that she's on the other side trying to open it, so they're kind of like about to run into each other. But the end of the issue is we got are these supposed to be specific? Is that meant to be Ares?
I was assuming so, judging by the helmet.
Yeah, it's a very Ares looking helmet. Yeah,
it is. I mean, if they tell me it's not, then sure. Yeah. But my assumption was Ares.
The way it played it just kind of felt like it was maybe more generic than that. But yeah, it could just be Ares. And it ends on this cliffhanger. And to be honest, like, I was sort of thinking early on this issue that I'm like, if I'm not more into this by the end of this issue, I'm probably done. And I feel that way. Which is why when we were going through the solicits, I don't want to reveal that yet, but we were going through the solicits and you said, "Oh, we read Wonder Woman and Wonder Girl." I'm like, yeah, but I'm not reading Wonder Girl by the time this starts.
I did even say as we were doing that, Wonder Girl, potentially. Yeah, I kind of left that again. I'd already made the same decision as you, I think, by that point, but was kind of just been like, well, you never know. We might be reading it. But no, I don't think I will either. We kind of brushed over it. Jerry's alive. He just shows up.
Oh, yeah.
Undercutting that beat from last issue. No explanation. No knowledge. Jerry's fine.
Yeah. Storytelling is just not that hot, unfortunately, which is a shame because the character is so likable, and that's why it worked in those first few issues that we got over. But like actually building a story out of this, it's just such a mess to me in terms of like flowing, in terms of making me care about the next beat and understanding what we're trying to achieve at any given point. It just kind of feels like a series of random events by and large.
I agree. I still think the core ideas of both the character and this story could work. There's nothing inherently wrong with the ideas. I just think they're not presented in a very cohesive fashion. They need... I know I said this last year, but it just needs a better writer to kind of take these ideas. I think Joelle Jones needs a co-writer to take these ideas and turn them into something a bit more coherent.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean, because Joelle Jones is a fantastic artist.
Oh, without a doubt.
But yeah, the writing's a bit wonky.
And I think she has good ideas. I think all the ideas that we talk about in this story, the heritage, the stuff with Hera, and I think all of these things are good on paper. They're just not coming together on the story. I
also think she has a good voice. Like, I think the reason why we fell for Yara in the first place is because she has such a great voice for that character. But unfortunately, that does not necessarily build a story, though. So
yeah,
here we are. All right, what are you giving Wonder Girl issue 6?
Probably like a 5, and that's accounting for the pretty great art.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not like a disaster or anything. So even though like I'm frustrated because yet again I've gotten a really lukewarm piece of writing out of it, it's still worse writing. It's just not like, if I keep reading 5s, I get pissed off at the 5s. So
yeah, they're not the worst if you have an odd 5 here or there, but you don't go out of your way to read 5s, do you?
But this has been like 3 in a row that I've maybe even 4 in a row at this point that I've felt.
Yeah.
Issue 3 onwards has kind of been rough by and large, and played more in my patience as it went on. So I'll agree with the 5, but yeah, I'm done with Wonder Girl at this point. So there you go. All right, well, that's Patreon time. Every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can make myself or Connor read a book at one of the higher tiers. And I am going to be talking about American Vampire Survival, the Fittest, issue 5 or 6. What? It's the last issue. I can't remember if it's a 5-issue mini or a 6-issue mini, but either way, it's the last one.
I think it's 5 issue.
Yeah, I think it's 5, but just in case it's actually issue 6, either way, it's the right issue. It's the last one. So, yeah, so last issue ended with the Ancients waking up as they were trying to escape the big Nazi castle. And so Felicia Book and Cash are on the motorbike, they're on the run. And honestly, this has got a quick issue to talk about probably because a lot of it is this big action sequence as the Ancient is just wrecking the Nazi vampires. They're trying to fight back to the Ancients. Meanwhile, our main characters are just like doing an action stunt. They're jumping a bridge on the motorbike. And this big vampire Cthulhu, or not Cthulhu, sorry, Kaiju, vampire Kaiju style attack things happening in the background. There's a great 2-page layout actually earlier on where there's a lot of panels on both sides, on both pages, just sort of playing out as normal with the main characters on the bike and like talking about having to go down the side of a mountain and like stuff. But the top of the 2-page layout is a big wide panel. And the big ancient vampire's arms are like spread out, almost like Christ-like. It's not doing a pose, it's more just like, doing various things and swiping at people. But what it does by having this super wide panel that goes across both pages at the top is that it really emphasizes the span of the arms and how big this thing is. So it's just a really smart use of like choosing the right shape of panel, the right aspect ratio, if you will, to accentuate the size and scale of something. So thumbs up to the artiste here. So they have a big, again, it's another big action scene. If you remember, they've got like a sunlight gun that they were like showing off in the last couple of issues. They've got that on them. So Book shoots this down the side of the snow-covered mountain to melt the snow to give them a clear road to ride down. So that's a really fun sequence, really big and high concept. And then some of the Nazis with a tank are like chasing them down the mountain behind them. So we get some really fun stuff with that coming down the mountain. It cuts inside to the tank with like the vampire who's like running this thing, and it's all red light like the inside of almost like a submarine, like you'd see in like a submarine movie. All really fun stuff though. There's so much momentum here. The layouts are a big part of this. Again, I talked about how there's like all the panels that you would normally get in a page, but with the wide panel at the top, emphasizing the spread of this big vampire's arms. On a similar vein, there's a single page where you've got like almost like a normal page worth of panels, but it's a little shrunk down, so you've got like a like an inverted L, going up the left and across the top of the page. And what this does is this is like them at the edge of a cliff. So at the top you see them on the edge of the cliff, and then the vertical part is going down the side of it, so it emphasizes the height of the fall. And this is them trying to get to the blimp that's the pickup point to escape. So again, really smart use of like the layouts to because it is mostly action scenes here. It's not a lot of story. It's a lot of physical beats and big moments, and the art is doing a great job of like making them all feel as big and cinematic as possible. So we have the big emotional climax, which is Cash is going to sacrifice himself to give her a chance to get away, and says, make sure you give my son this cure that we got from the doctor. Kisses her, and it was kind of setting up that they were bonding a little bit in a romantic way in the last couple of issues. So that felt like a nice payoff. And he has this big glorious sacrifice moment where he goes in, guns blazing, gets bit, but he goes into the tank and lets off a grenade, and the tank blows up. It's glorious, and Felicia gets saved. There's a great moody page after this where she's just full page spread. She's sitting in the back of the plane or the blimp, and it's just all the black of the negative space. Like, the only light is the sky, and everything's in silhouette almost. And she's just like sitting with her hand on her head. It's really deflated and all the rest of it. So we cut 2 weeks later, and Hobbs shows up to quote unquote apologize for the intel being wrong, for there being no cure. And she's really confrontational with him, doesn't like that he's there, but he says that hey, that Cash's son has went missing, but he told the investigators not to bother looking at her place because she has no interest in all that stuff, and that's how he says sorry, and that's what he says. He says that's how I'm saying sorry, basically meaning that he knows that she probably took the son, and there's only one vial of cure, so if she turned it in so that they could try and like do stuff with it, it wouldn't really necessarily be there for her and the kid to use. So the story ends with her giving it to the kid, giving it to herself, and then part of the cure is that they have to go and be in sunlight with it in their system for it to work. So the end of the story is her sitting with his baby boy on the fire escape of her apartment in the city, and just sort of it's a really nice ending. It kind of feels like it concludes the story, obviously of Cash because he's dead, but also of her to a certain extent, and that she's no longer like a hybrid. She's now going to be human, assuming it works, which I don't remember if they ever said it didn't, but I suspect it does. Now, what I don't remember is if Cash's son grows up to be a character in the later time periods. He might. I can't remember. It's been too long. But this was kind of a perfect ending to this, and it felt like it was ending a lot of characters that we've been playing with for a while. Obviously, we still have Pearl to deal with, to get back to in the main story, and all the other characters. But this felt like it was a nice bookend for a lot of other characters that we've been messing with throughout a couple of different arcs that we've been dealing with. So, and like I said, the art layouts are fantastic. The giant vampire looked great as it was smashing all the Nazis apart. Yeah, not a lot to complain about. Really quick read this one because it is all action, but solid 8.5 out of 10 I think for me on this. So very good. So that's American Vampire Survival of the Fittest issue 5. Connor is going to discuss Undiscovered Country issue 16.
I am. Possibly my favorite issue of the book so far. Maybe this is just because it speaks to me, but no, I think it's a great issue. This issue knew they got tasked by George Washington to go and find the creation engine. Unbeknownst to them that George Washington is working for the Crossroads Devil. It's already made a deal. So they're off in the boat, and they.
So is this the President George Washington as opposed to the plumber?
Yes.
And not the carpenter. Just to be clear, it's not the carpenter George Washington.
Yes, I'm very clear.
President of the United States, not like Canada.
Are you just trying to insult the Americans now?
No, I'm not really. I'm just trying to wind you up.
It's not really winding me up. You gotta try harder than that. But they approach the music island. Again, we're in this possibility, zone of possibility with all different areas. So we spent a lot of stuff last time on the comic book island, essentially the superhero one. This is the music island, and there's some jokes. It'd be interesting how they try and kill us this time. Maybe they stab us with oboes, or rap us to death, or just make us listen to jazz until we kill ourselves. But they get there, they get to the gates, and the gates are closed, and there's a big pedestal with a microphone on it, and a projection of some sheet music. And it's it's a little bit like the first few lines, and then a question mark at the end. Clearly the implication being is you've got to sing it and finish the piece. And it's like, okay, do you know what the piece is? And they're all around like, well, who knows how to sing? And one of them does, and one of them's like, don't let me. I can't read music. I only play guitar. Very good joke about how no guitarists read music. None of them do. They're all terrible. You included.
Yeah, but at least we actually play notes, unlike drummers. Okay.
I'll allow it. Although there is some really good stuff about some drums in this issue, which I will get to as well. But drum tablature is even weirder than guitar tabs. It's a language unto itself.
There was an old joke back when I was in high school, actually playing music, and we were in the. It was a swing band that was put together. It was mostly just the brass, but it was like rhythm guitar and some drums and whatever. And old joke was what do you call a guy who hangs about with musicians? A drummer.
Yeah, that is a very old joke. Let me tell you.
It's a great joke though.
It is. But I mean, I appreciate that this was just, it was the accurate sheet music. You could, anyone who reads music could figure out what this song was pretty quickly. And it's quite obvious what it actually is. Because once the character sings the first bit, even they're like, oh, of course that's what it is. And it's the American national anthem. You know, because what else would it be in a zone of creation about America's greatest creations? Of course, it would be their most famous song, right? That's the test. Which is a test in two parts. One, it's the test to see if you know it, because obviously that's why the question mark's there, and it's, you know, are you worthy to enter? And then two, it's, you know, pretty famously difficult to sing because of the range that it covers and, you know, the jumps that it has rather than just the range. So it's okay. Are you able to sing this as well? Do you belong in here? But she does it well enough. It opens up and they get in, and you see all, you know, all these different, like, the signposts, all these different areas that are all, you know, based after various genres created in America. You know, you got rock, jazz, Broadway, you know, gospel music, funk, stuff like that. It's like, you know, this idea of going, yeah, America created a lot of music because, you know, lots of people came to America and just brought their music with them, and yeah, you got all this melding and you got all these totally new things, and it's very true. But you know, they go inside and it's like this disco hall, but everyone's dead. It's just all these skeletons. But it's just the idea of everyone who was here was a real person, not like some of the other islands where it's been all these, you know, literary creations. These were actual musicians just creating music all day, but over time, you know, they all died. And there's like nothing until you hear a drum beat, and they're like, yeah, I kind of recognize this, and it's the funky drummer, which is that's the name of the song. It's probably the most famous drum beat in history because it's been sampled in a lot of this. I mean, this song, this issue claims 1,700 songs, and I'm assuming they just pulled that from Wiki.
What song was this from?
Funky Drummer.
Never heard of it.
You won't have heard that song, but you will have heard the drum beat. Like, I mean, you might have heard that song. It's unlikely though, but
okay.
You know, it's a James Brown kind of jazzy song. But Clyde Stubblefield, I think, was the drummer. Fantastic drum beat. Like I say, you will know the drum beat because it's been used literally over 1,000 times in various songs. They mention here it's in the Powerpuff Girls theme tunes sped up, and it is. But that's a funny little reference because there was a debate for years over whether it was this drum beat or another one from a different song. So yeah, I do think it is this one. I think they're correct. I remember looking at this before and going, yes, it's this one. But it was a debate amongst musicians for years as to which one it was. So that's just kind of a fun little thing they threw in. But they're like, oh yeah, no, if that music's playing, you know that what that must be is it's they liken it to it's a heartbeat. You know, that drum. You know, okay, if your drums are your heartbeat, it's, you know, that's your bass line to follow everything around, and of course it would use that one because it's the most famous drum beat. So if that's happening, something's still alive, and they come to this thing. I'm just skimming to the back mat to get the name of it because the name of it's not given anything. A one-man band. It's hard to describe. It's unique, the design of this thing. It's got like a bass drum or a kick drum for the Americans is the face of it, with like notes drawn on as like the eyes. It's got like it's just got cables linking to like guitars and pianos and other little drum kits that are like arms and appendages, and it's very clearly anthropomorphized. You can see the face, you can understand how it's functioning and communicating, but it's bizarre as a design. And the notes that are on it, like that make the facial expressions, they change, kind of like a thing like Rorschach's mask, the way that kind of morphs through the scenes to give different emotions. They use different music symbols to do different facial expressions, which is kind of cool. But But the things like, hey, have you got new music? I need new music. I've heard every record already. And they're like, yeah, we got an iPod. You can have music. When it realizes though that they want the creation engine for it, they're like, oh no, we don't need music. We'll give you that. We just want music. And if you're an actual person, you can use the creation engine, and you can create new music because that's how it works. So it gives them, and they struggle to figure out how to use it at first. They're like, what's the they don't understand. They've never learned before. They don't know what it is. And it's like, oh well, you can't be people then, so I'm gonna have to kill you. So it gets all these like big thick cables and starts choking them and like wrapping them up until Ace kind of figures out, no, whenever you create anything, you song, whenever you write a song, design a dress, make a recipe, shoot a movie, telling a story, doesn't matter what, it has to cost you. You need to put in your blood. So it's this creation engine takes it literally, and it has like spikes that you have to put your hand on and bleed on to activate, and it does, and it does the big, like, it lets off a big light in the sky when it's activated. Oh, sorry, it's called the anything engine, not the creation engine, but it's the point of it's the same. It lets you create anything, and this is what they need, because they need to create something so they can get the key to the next zone. But it's also what we see is this is the plan. This is what the Crossroads Devil wanted. This is why he sent them there. We don't know what he wants it for yet. I'm sure they'll find out. But the final bit is him going, that's it now. They're caught between the devil. And this is where I was just complaining in a previous book, the thing of doing the narration, crossing pages or crossing scenes to kind of give this dramatic effect when there's no point to the linkage. Whereas this one does, because it's a face up, a close up on the face of the Crossroads Devil, saying they're caught between the devil, and then it cuts, and it says and the deep blue sea on the next page, and of course you see the island they're on. It's a big wide shot, so you just see the sea around it, or, and they're being surrounded by all these different ships, some of which have very interesting designs. One of them looks like a big giant squid. Some of them are very sci-fi looking. Some of them are very traditional sailboats. Yeah, no, it's cool. This issue is great. Again, it's playing into what this book has done best with the ideas of stories and creation. Obviously, this one through a music lens. A little bit more of flashbacks, just a little bit more of their history. Them playing with all right, what did America mean to the rest of the world once it was sealed off? What was the legacy of America? How did they remember it? It kind of took on this very sanitized view. The Lafayette group don't want them talking about America, but as well as guns at the same time. So it's a very sanitized history of it. It's got this idea of, when someone dies, and it's not like, like a public figure, but it's someone who wasn't necessarily that beloved. Like maybe they're a political figure and they were someone that people didn't necessarily agree with, but everyone's like, oh, weren't they great? Didn't they do so much? Even though weeks before they died, people weren't saying that. It's kind of got that view to it, as like, that's how America's been treated by the rest of the world now. It's this very sanitized, like, oh, America didn't have a gun problem. Of course not. We just don't talk about that anymore. We talk about the good things, and that's it. So it's this idea of inside the zones, we're seeing what America really is versus what it wanted to be seen as, what its legacy was, and what is kindly remembered as in the flashbacks, which has this really interesting dichotomy, and it's what this book does best at. No, it's a great issue. It's a solid 9 out of 10.
Okay. Well, that is the part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and top 5 books. Yeah, so we'll start off with panel / moment. Connor, what you got?
I'm going from Robin and Batman. I'm just going Alfred, going you bastard, because it summed up everything at the end of that scene.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. There's a few things in there. I think I may be tempted to go with Batman coming out of the sewer, the manhole, and Batman Imposter into the city. Ooh. I really like that moment. There's a lot of great moments in both that and Robin and Batman, but that's the one that I think takes it for me. Cover of the week. I will give a shout out to the fantastic Batman Imposter cover. I pretty much knew it was going to be one of the Batgirls cover. You know, I think Middleton's cover is pretty solid. I think the main cover is fantastic. But my pick is actually the Inkahuk Lee cover. I'm probably butchering the name.
Injuk, I think.
Inkahuk, yeah. It's obviously they're both in costume. It's got a pink background, but they're very nicely detailed and shaded and jumping past the moon. Just a really, really pretty cover. It's got a few good ones. And I don't usually do this, right? It's got a lot of variants, and I want to kind of shit on one of them.
Let's not do that.
Well, I feel like there's one that feels like it's trying to make Steph look like a porn star, and I find it quite disturbing, to be honest.
Are you on about the Will Jack one?
Yes. You knew exactly which one I meant, which is telling.
Yeah, I get it, but yeah.
I don't want to be mean, but slightly less pervy. I know we commended that it's okay for artists to be a bit pervy early on. There's a line.
I don't think it's too bad for. So there's two versions of that cover that they use.
Yes.
The zoomed in one, I don't think is anywhere near as bad.
I mean, I think the face is the biggest problem, to be honest. But like, I get what you're saying.
I think the one where it's zoomed out, where you see the hand down, like I don't know, the whole pose, it makes it look a bit worse, I think.
It just feels it's also a bit uncanny valley kind of levels. It's like I think because Artgerm's got a pretty solid I think Wonder Woman cover this week. Or was it Wonder Girl? One of the Wonder books. And sometimes Artgerm's a little bit on the weird uncanny valley digital vibe for me, even though the art tends to be quite nice. This one goes a bit too far into like creepy territory, I think, for me. But you know, hey ho. What's your cover though?
I want to shout out both of the Robin and Batman covers.
They're good.
Both of those are fantastic. But I am actually going to go with the Wonder Girl variant.
Oh, there you go.
I like it.
Yeah, it's good Artgerm covers. I was just complimenting the Batgirl Supergirl cover for World's Finest, and the Solicits. All right, art of the week then.
For me, I mean, there's only two it really comes down to. Let's be honest. It's either Nguyen or Sorrentino, and I'm gonna give it to Nguyen for Robin and Batman. But I mean, I could have gone with either. Toying cost, basically.
I mean, that's nice because I'm going with Sorrentino, so I guess we're even it all out.
Yeah.
But there you go. All right, top 5 books, go.
So I am actually going to Robin and Batman at 1, and Batman Imposter at number 2, which is not what I predicted going into this week, but yeah, no, that was the way I came out of them, which was a pleasant surprise. I guess Batgirls, then Wonder Woman, and then I guess obligatory Wonder Girl in last, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll go Batman Imposter at number 1, then number 2 I'll go Robin and Batman, number 3 Batgirls, number 4 Wonder Woman, and I'm just double check I didn't read anything else before I say Wonder Girl. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just assuming I can't have Undiscovered Country in my list.
No, you cannot. No.
Not even to bump Wonder Girl off.
No, not happening. But there you go. There's our picks for the week. I will tell you what's coming next week. On the week of Christmas, the bastards, from DC Comics. So coming out next week, there is Nightwing 87, Batman Catwoman issue 9, Catwoman issue 38, Batman One Dark Knight issue 1. Oh, I'm looking forward to trying that, actually. It's a really cool premise.
That's the jock book, right?
Yeah. There we got... Oh, no, you were wrong. Robin's issue 2 is next week.
I guess it is. I know issue 3 came out on DC Universe this week.
The digital for 3 was this week, yeah.
Last time that happened, it was exactly, the same week as the first issue, as the next issue, so I assumed it was this week.
That's
My
fine.
bad.
Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow issue 6, Justice League Incarnate issue 2, Legends of the Dark Knight issue 8, Catwoman Lonely City issue 2, Batman vs Bigsby, A Wolf in Gotham issue 4, Newbie in the Amazons issue 3, Suicide Squad King Shark issue 4, Refrigerator Full of Heads issue 3, Wonder Woman Evolution issue 2, Scooby-Doo Where Are You 113, and DC Connect issue 20, if anyone is particularly thought. No,
if anyone doesn't just want the solicits digitally.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not like it's not the busiest week ever, but it's definitely a healthy week.
It is, and also the books that are there tend to be books that get discussion. Like you tend to spend a reasonable amount on Batman, Catwoman. Nightwing tends to get a reasonable amount. Catwoman Lonely City is a big book. Supergirl is fairly big. Batman One Dark Knight's a big new issue 1. Prestige, probably double-sized issue.
They're not phoning it in for Christmas week is the point.
No, they are not. They couldn't give us a nice break week, could they?
No, and they did that the last 2 years. There was like 2 years in a row where they just didn't release books on Christmas week, but here we are. Which was very convenient for getting the annual episode in, because we just did that week off.
Yeah.
So, hey-ho, it is what it is. That's what's happening. So once again, I'll remind you that the show this coming next week will be late. It will be possibly multiple days late, depending on when we're going to record it, because we still haven't quite nailed down what day we are going to record it, but it will be late. So do not worry, it'll be coming. And the following week may also be a little bit late too, for basically the same reasons. New Year's not as obviously as eventful as Christmas, but it still might be busy enough for one of us that will push it a day or two. So just brace yourself for delays. I think everyone will understand it is the Christmas season, and it will affect the schedule a touch. But we will be there. So I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month of December. So especially a Merry Christmas to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Board Now, Christopher Moy, and David Brown. Those are our producers at one of the higher tiers. But you can support us for as little as $1 per month over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses for your trouble. $5 tier in particular gets the show a day early, whenever it's ready on the Saturday. Of course, again, that's a little bit different the next couple of weeks for obvious reasons, but we'll see what we can do. And who knows, maybe there'll be new Patreon perks or stuff for multiverse fans next year in 2022. We'll see. But yeah, so go check out Patreon. Of course, you can support us for free by simply hitting the buttons. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, all that stuff on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes or whatever podcast app you have. If it gives you the option of rating and reviewing, please do it very positively. No middling reviews though. 5 stars. None of this. 3 stars, they're okay.
Yeah, we don't want to hear it.
6 out of 10. Like, if that's the case, piss off. But yes, so that has been the show. That has been episode 284. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back next time on a slightly irregular day, but we'll be back with your Christmas edition of Comics From The Multiverse. Although annoyingly, it's going to feel probably quite Christmas to us, but by the time they get the episode, it'll be a few days after Christmas, and they'll probably be like, oh, it's not Christmas anymore. We don't want to hear about Christmas.
I mean, it's probably going to be after Christmas by the time we record. I don't want to hear about Christmas by that point. That
True.
Tree better be down by the time we record.
Piss off.
Down. Boxing Day, gone.
No. It's got to stay up for New Year.
Yes. That's New Year's, not Christmas.
Yeah, but the Christmas tree's still there. It still lingers for New Year's. That's the done thing.
No.
You're supposed to keep it for 12 days after, which technically gets you up to like January 6th.
January 6th, because that's there's Bible reasons, but I'm not going to go into that.
People reasons.
Yeah, but January 6th. That's the day that the allegedly the
allegedly, I like that one.
Allegedly the wise men visited with their gifts was 12 days after.
Yes.
So that's why you get to January 6th.
Yes. They allegedly brought their gifts to the alleged son of God.
Yes.
Well, the alleged son of the alleged God. Just make it work completely.
That tracks.
Yes.
But that's why 12 days. Yeah. That's where it comes from.
Very good. So yeah, thank you for joining us once again. Given this is the last episode you'll get before Christmas, have a nice Christmas, and eat lots
or
of
whatever else you celebrate.
Yeah, eat lots of food, eat lots of nice things, and get lots of presents, whatever it may be. Well, I'm an atheist, and I enjoy Christmas, so everyone should enjoy the commercialism of Christmas. So they just do things because why not? That's what Christmas is.
Oh, the true Western Christmas spirit.
Exactly. So, thank you very much for joining us once again. We always appreciate it. Keep watching, keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.